Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Everybody, I'd like to convene the last
No,
Department of Public Works Committee meeting
is it?
It's
for
December
the
meeting.
year of twenty
Oh, we
twenty-five.
don't have one on the 30th?
Should one special be convened? I had not seen one on the December calendar. And my last Public Works Committee meeting. To order, thank you. Motion to accept the minutes for October
moved.
20th meeting. That's, who seconded?
Okay.
Jim, go ahead. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Department reports. Public Works. And others.
Thank you, Kevin, for letting me go first. I only have a couple quick things. Any questions on the auction sales that I just got this morning? So I figured I would show them to you.
Okay, thank you.
The one thing that I have is we need to move some money. So. You know, it's hard to get what?
You want to code them?
Do I want to?
Our code numbers.
I have my own.
Speaking for everybody.
So we have, you know, it's hard to get trucks and finally trucks are coming through. And we just, well, a month or two ago, we got our 2023 order. Our 2024 order is in. And our 2025 order is on order. So the 2024 trucks are down there getting all fitted up. And when they get here, they need Joma plates. So every year we budget for Joma plates. But we didn't budget for that many Joma plates because we're catching up with trucks now, if you know what I mean. So we need to move $13,100 from 0.4280 to 0.2290.
So move. Second.
Second by Lance.
One final truth.
This is internal to yours. right?
No, this one has to go to finance because, right, Al?
Above the limit?
Yeah, because it's because it's from a 0.4 to a 0.2.
Oh, okay.
What account you taking it out of? 1.4 is this?
Supplies. So the initial Joma blades are 0.2, but the blades that go on the blades are 0.4.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye, opposed? Motion carried.
That's it. Thanks for
Goodbye.
doing that.
Good luck in the snow today.
Yes. It's an adventure. Thanks, guys.
Your sleep's just a crutch anyways.
Evan, come on up, please.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Gordon.
Yes, sir.
All right, my first item is the multifunctional process control administration building budget amendment. What this is, we previously moved money and created a capital project for this project. We need to move the money into an expense line so we can. The money's in there right now. It just needs to be moved from the project contingency into an expense line of Al's creation. That's what the resolution dated for. So,
That's on the back of our agenda. A motion for that? Dave, second. Tim, Lance, seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Another budget amendment, this one does not have a data form, it is straightforward though, we just need to move a little bit of money to cover consultant expenses, which is mainly due to the litigation that I've been talking about for about a year and a half now. So I'd like to move $40,000, from contingency, or sorry, from fund balance into the consultant. If we don't use it, it'll go back, but that's what we're expecting, a little bit less than that for the remainder of 2025.
A motion for that. Fine. Tim, second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The wastewater treatment plant project well, it is an upgrade, but the completion certificate, the project that's been going on for a couple of years now is wrapping up. Part of wrapping that up, to satisfy the EFC funding requirements is we have to sign a project completion certificate. It's a form, basically us signing off on the project. I don't know if there's any other forms that are gonna come up, so because of that, I'm looking to authorize the chairman to sign the project completion certificate and any and all other documents needed to wrap up the project and move to long-term financing.
Motion. Okay. Second. Yeah. Any other discussion for the chairman to sign? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
I would like to add.
Other?
Other,
Okay.
that's because I didn't know we weren't doing another meeting in December at the time of this, but it's due to sewer district raises. I know when I first presented my budget here, we were talking about 2.5% raise, regardless of what the county does. After that, the county did not get the raise, but it's still the sewer districts and the commissioner's intent to do the 2.5% raise. And at this point, it looks like it'll be a budget amendment in January, just to move the money into the lines to pay for that, so. I guess that's what I'm bringing up as other, because we're not gonna have another meeting before that January possible budget amendment. Thoughts, but that's what myself and the commissioners are looking.
As motion to move to finance. Yeah, second, Sue. Any other discussion? Al,
So another option that you have is to wait until the salary schedule is actually adopted. And then come back in January and do it at your January meeting.
Would that be like for a February?
Yep.
Budget amendment.
That's okay, you're not gonna overdraw your budget in February. So you could, in theory, wait until the salary schedule actually passes. And then take action in January for the February work.
Are we doing a separate salary schedule for sewer, Melissa, regardless of
Yeah.
raises?
Yeah.
Okay,
It has to still pass the board. Right?
So it'll come to finance this month, right? And then
Sure,
to the
right.
full board.
So if it passes the full board, you could still take action in January for February with no problem.
that would be
Instead of-
retro to January.
Instead of sending it to finance now and it failing, or potentially, well, if it failed, right? So you could wait for it to pass and then take action.
There won't be any need for retro for the
Yeah.
raises,
Yeah,
if that's what you're asking. Because
Right.
they'll be effective January.
there'll be enough
1st.
money in your budget in January, you won't have to take action until February, you'll be fine. So you could, we could talk about it in January if you chose to.
I just need to know, I guess, when they start paying all the workers. Question.
That'll
When-
be in effect at the board meeting.
If
In
it passes
December.
the December board meeting, they would get January 1.
But it's not in the budget.
But you have plenty of budget until February.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I need some sort of authorization that I can do it.
No, the salary schedule will pay them correctly, promise. You have plenty of time to wait till January and take action after it's passed, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying you can't do it today, I'm saying you could wait until it passes and then take the inaction on the budget.
As long as I'm not doing anything wrong
Nope.
in January by paying them more.
If we
that's all I-
overdraw your point ones in January, we're in bigger trouble than I thought.
No, I know we'll have the money, but like
Yeah.
whether I'm like legally able
Yeah,
to pay
yeah.
more, I
Yes,
guess.
so the salary schedule is what directs me to pay them. So the salary schedule will come up at the December board meeting regardless of budget,
But that the current salary schedule doesn't have the raises in. Like,
but it's
It
coming
will.
to coming to December. The salary schedule is separate from your budget. The salary schedule directs me how to pay your men.
Right.
And ladies,
I didn't believe the current salary schedule has raises in it.
It will happen.
it will have,
When I bring it to.
it's coming to finance.
Okay.
Yep. That's why I'm saying if you let that play out first,
Sure.
then we can address the budget in January.
Okay.
I'd almost prefer that, but that's just my,
Okay, I like it.
what's your pleasure, sir?
Can't amend the budget ahead of time. To 26.
it go to January anyway.
Okay, I'll wait till January, bring this up again. For the budget.
All right, we had a motion on the table. procedurally, what do you wanna do?
Withdraw the second, withdraw.
Withdraw? Dave, you gonna withdraw?
Withdraw.
Second, Dave, and you're gonna withdraw, okay. Motion's withdrawn. Any other?
There's another.
There is. What other business? What, mag planning?
I'll probably just sit here for that.
Okay. So with that, we'll go into other business. Our PFOA discussion. Who's leading this one?
You by default.
Could be me by default. All right. What, so you're, go ahead.
I'll lead this.
Okay.
The this group. Concerned people, some of us supervisors about the spreading of the sewage and compost on farmland that may be behind PFOAs. But we also would like to protect our composting facility. So if there was any way to craft a resolution on that, do both of those somehow. That's, I think, what the committee was looking for.
Well, I'm not sure what the specific language you're talking.
Well,
about.
I guess the issue is, kind of go back in, I think the November ag planning meeting. I was initially directed to write a local law to place a moratorium on use, sale, distribution of anything with PFAS with the county for, I believe, 6 months. I raised a concern at that time that it could affect some of Kevin's operations with the composting. After Public Works last time, it was kind of left in the air what I was going to do. Then there was further discussion in ag and planning, which a number of different options were presented. I think there was a general feeling they want to do more than simply do a resolution that supported the state's efforts to impose a 5-year moratorium. I think, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, where most people were landing was we wanted to have a moratorium at least on PFAS coming in outside the county, but I think we had to exempt the Lake George facility, maybe the small sewer facility. I think there were a couple of exceptions that we had to put into it so that the sewer district could still do its composting, but that we, to a certain degree, limited the amount of PFAS coming in from outside. And people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where at least the board, I don't know if that's where Mr. Atkinson was quite at, but I think that's kind of where the board, or at least the members of the board that were at the Ag Planning Committee kind of landed.
Okay. Yeah, I was not part of that discussion. Yeah.
And was it part of also, we were sort of waiting to find out what parameters the state was gonna put on the PFAS, because it was unclear at this point. They haven't come out with their final decision yet.
Yeah, we're kind of operating in a guidance vacuum from the state, and I don't know if anyone's pushing on state to get that stuff, because in the meantime, we're sitting there trying to cobble something together without the benefit of some of the expertise that they have. They got NCON, they got their state level Department of Health. Yeah, exactly. And it's just.
But they already have the PFAS levels set that they want to stay under
They have guidelines.
guidelines. So when we use those guidelines, put in our, not come into this Washington County, and put some sort of penalty on it. So there's teeth to it.
How would you even regulate it though, if there's no,
There's no,
You'd have to test
that's
it.
my question. You have to have testing.
It's only been.
But I don't really think
Ours is like a test. Yes, sir.
If I remember correctly, it was only tested one time and then it was cost of $500. And, you know, that is the start of a baseline. That you start understanding, you know, where the facility is at, cost, and when you do such a good job in keeping track of everything, being aware of everything, that would be just one more test for your pocket and your data, because guidelines probably will change, but we're actually kind of ahead of the curve if we start a baseline.
Well,
And,
I think there was two subjects. The first subject was testing
yeah,
at the site, and there was discussion about increasing and doing X number of testings a year. I think it was $500 a whack. But the second is to stop it from coming in into the borders. Got a resolution to stop it, but there's enforcement issues and how do we enforce it? But you know, I think that I think a moratorium on bringing it in was sort of the consensus of where we were at back then.
But I won't speak on outside sludge being land applied to Washington County, other than that, like, you know, Lake George is bringing their sludge to us. That would be my concern with the way moratorium's worded. As far as the sampling, I do not recommend doing any additional sampling. I understand the concerns around PFAS, but I don't recommend doing any additional sampling. We're not required to do, because what precedent is that setting? And, you know, I understand this is about PFAS, but there are hundreds, thousands of other chemicals that could be in sludge, and if we're not regulated for it, it means we're not in any position to treat it. Everything from pharmaceuticals to organics, inorganics. You know, it's just the way the compost facility is set up.
Yes, sir.
So what, we just lay down and let whoever from Boston, New York City, or, you know, come in and ruin our farmland?
No, I'm not, that's
I don't-
what I'm saying. I'm not speaking to outside sludge being land applied. I was talking about specifically our additional sampling, at the compost
There's
facility.
two separate subjects. One's a sampling on the site. The other was PFAS coming in.
Well,
They're
testing
two
would,
separate.
testing would see what we're putting on our ground. Right? We
Yeah,
don't know right now. We have one test. One test does not make a.
Yeah, but
a
he's
trend.
he's doing all the testing that the state requires, okay?
And
You're not gonna control, he controls the plant. What's going on, like, you know, that's not gonna be controlled by Kevin. What people are putting down there, they bring it in from
so we're gonna
somewhere.
lay back and let the state do it? Now, how much care of Washington County has the state taken lately?
I'm not sure.
It is not gonna cost us, or you guys, that much money to do it quarterly. Couple grand a year. I think it's worth just the knowledge.
Well, it would only identify where would you test from, though? That's the question here, because where is the blending of this? Where does this stuff get blended in?
The
Right, outside
compost
sources.
facility, that's where you're gonna test it, is at the compost facility.
Right.
The stuff coming in from outside, no, shut it off. I don't believe in whoever's testing outside the county. They don't have our best interest. So, and I don't count Lake George. I mean, Lake George is part of our composting facility. Yeah, right?
Right.
Yeah, so, you know, I don't think there should be any outside coming in and getting spread on, and we should set a fine. I know, Kevin, the state doesn't require it, and you don't want to do it, it could jeopardize down the road, but remember 50 years ago, PCBs weren't a big issue either. Look where we went with that. So, you know, I'd like to know if there is a whole bunch of different chemicals or a bunch of PFAS going on from our facility. If there is, we may have to figure something else out. And we gotta look for the good of the county here.
Why don't we concentrate on the testing issue, then on the other issue, because we're mixing the two together. I think.
Right, exactly.
Nate, you.
Kevin, how long ago did you do that test?
I don't want to give you the wrong date.
I think it's probably 4 or 5 years.
No, it was since I've been there, so it's in the past 3 years.
I want to say it was
Would be nice
2024.
Yeah, I don't want to go.
If you did another test now, it'd be good to know whether there is an increase in plastics from the population to the end product. versus 3 years ago. I mean, you don't even know what the trends are outside of the plan.
So from a conversation in terms of breaking this down into actionable pieces, right? So do we have the appetite
I'll
to,
make a motion that we have a moratorium. You guys figure out the length on any product being spread in Washington County coming from outside the county, not our composting facility. And there be fines of 5,000 for the first violation and 10,000 for violation.
I'll second it.
Sounds like a stake in the ground for me.
And just so everyone's aware, obviously, this follows the local law procedure, so we'd have to introduce it at the December meeting. It'll be voted on in the January meeting, and obviously there will be 3 or 4 different
Be more than
people sitting here.
so we gotta, I don't, we're in procedure, sir. You're not part of the committee, so thank you. So we have a motion on the moratorium, second, with fines.
How long is the length gonna be? I guess I didn't state that.
Normally, usually 6 months is about the outside.
With an option to extend.
You
it
can,
6
you can
months.
always extend it later on.
All right, so we want to be clear about the outside sources, so no sources.
I guess I'd ask Kevin, I assume, I'll ask Kevin to give me the list of where we normally get it from, and I'll say.
I don't know where the outside.
I mean, like Village of Lake George, things we normally.
Okay.
That you process.
Right. I don't want to affect any existing operations, so, if it comes from Glens Falls.
No, it's just Lake George.
That's the only one, Kevin, right?
It's just Lake George, yeah. We're permitted for, I believe, Granville and another place. We haven't taken it from them in years.
Years.
Okay, so just give me the name of the facility, so.
Are you good? Yep.
I think they need.
Got discussion.
Are those fines heavy enough to dissuade that kind of behavior? Casella itself is a $1.2 billion a year company right now. That would be the equivalent of me paying $2 for 10
Well, it
grand.
depends. Are you gonna find them or are you gonna find the farmer? The farmer will probably hit them that's using the product. Would hit them pretty hard, then they'd be looking at regular fertilizer.
And how do we notify the farmers in our community that they're not allowed to take these stuff in?
Well, there are different ways. I mean, Cornell puts out newsletters, Farm Bureau puts out newsletters. I don't know if you would hit everybody or not. I don't know. I guess we got to determine who we find it. Are we finding the company coming in or are we finding the person using it?
Both.
I'm just gonna say that.
Well, because here's the thing, well, Casella could just pay the fine.
Oh, yeah. No, they
It's
just
$2.
pay the fine.
Right. It's the equivalent of me paying $2 a year.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All right.
They're getting rid of it for free because they can't offload it on anything. That's why they don't charge. So what's a fine of 10 grand gonna do to a company like
No,
that?
exactly.
All right, so is that enough? Is the fine structure enough? Or do we double it? Even that doesn't really,
Well, I guess the question,
Yeah, Charlie,
is, do you do it at? And I don't know how to show it as a per occurrence on a farm, but.
per violation,
Yeah,
you can't do it per violation.
For violation, it's gonna. Even $5,000 gonna hurt any farmer.
Charlie,
On a question of enforcement and antitrust issues, what if the farmers or the suppliers get validated, approved testing and show that it's under the standards? We're closing down opportunity for trade. I worry about this from a logistic point of view, because we're automatically assuming everything coming in from outside of our county is sad. I'm for it, but I mean, how do we legally defend this rule in law?
okay,
California passed laws that wouldn't let any pork or chickens or eggs be sold that weren't raised in a specific way, and the rest of the country didn't do it. And I believe the Supreme Court upheld that.
But we're only talking about not a way, we're talking about a threshold level. I think, I mean, what is the reason for doing this? The contamination risk, or they eliminate the contamination risk from a test that is authorized? That's what I worry about in enforcement. Testing is $500, the fine is 5,000. And,
Well, the general point of a moratorium is to be able to study the issue and come up with ways to regulate it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. If enforcement mechanism at this point. I certainly understand the reason behind it, whether or not it may be premature, I don't know. I understand the reason why.
Right. I mean, Charlie, on that, it's, you'd almost have to test per load. Casella's not gonna load a load, take a test on it. Wait, whatever it takes a month to get your results back and then spread, because your stuff is gonna change. Overall.
right, but we could get challenged simply and lose.
It's possible. Scott?
Well, Charlie's point. There's a reason that they're not stopping somewhere between here and wherever they're going. So there's a lot of land between here in Boston. Here in New York City, there's a reason that they're traveling this far. Because they think we're dumping off the table. And I think, well, actually I have a question now. Can we set two different fine scales for schedules? One for the company transporting and one for the farmer, where, you know, if it's to celebrate it in, then that would be 50 and 100,000, and the farmer would be 5 and 10.
Yeah.
Sam?
You know, it's part of what, this guy is saying, you know, we had an issue where, you know, there's a distance involved there. But we had some stuff that jumped up in Kingsbury. Kingsbury was able to utilize their law to get it out of there. But we didn't have anything in Fort Anne protecting us, and just drove it over 20 miles and dumped it in the field of one of our farmers. So, you know, you gotta put some teeth in this somewhere. And, you know, I think that we're a little low, Jay, in all respect to the thing. I know on the solar things, those of us that have solar laws, we're putting in the escrow aspect of it. Much more heavier than that, because those people could just pick up and leave, and there's nobody to get the money from.
Right.
Without putting an escrow there. So I think that a higher fine should be imposed.
We're gonna see this law as a draft, and we're probably gonna discuss it again at that point.
Mhm.
So maybe that'll give us a chance to give that some soak time and
Yep.
determine what might be appropriate. I think otherwise we're just throwing arbitrary numbers up.
Yeah.
Did we wanna add two different scales then, one to the hauler and one to the user?
I would certainly say that. Haulers have deeper pockets, as I'm hearing from.
Yeah, supplier and end user.
What do you want? 100,000, Scott, is that what you said?
I said 50 and 100 to the company, and 5 and 10 to the farmer.
Okay. I'm giving council opportunity to take notes and, you know, yes, ma'am.
So the content.
Waiting for the committee.
Like I said,
And any other conversations on this?
Before we vote, I guess we would probably ought to hear the comment.
Yes, sir.
Public.
I appreciate you letting me talk, and as we spoke at the Ag Committee on the 25th, there was spirited discussion at that point, and there certainly continues to be that very same spirit here. When I presented there last time, I presented the 2024 annual report from the composting facility at 196. I also presented Mr. Berman's memo that he had submitted to the Public Works Committee, and spent our data around several places. I'll break it down to what we learned.
Who's we, Ron?
What's that?
Who's we?
Well, since I've been coming to these meetings, I've been attempting to educate and just make people aware of what's going on. At that meeting at the Ag Committee on the 25th, the testing was a big factor, as we've been talking here just earlier. It is necessary that we do that because you need to know that the finished compost is safe for the public to use. It's supposed to be a Class A fertilizer compost, and that's what we have to be confident that we're giving up something that's okay to use. Without the testing for PFAS, Mr. Gorman at that meeting said there, he figured that it was a year and a half since he took it upon himself to test for 2 PFAS compounds, EFOA, EFOS. There's thousands of those. Right now, there's like 40 different PFAS compounds that are being attempted in these interim laws and stuff that they got going around or projections that should be tested. Now, without that confidence and that testing, you really have nothing to support what you're trying to do there. I offered at that point to do through the Sierra Club. I attempted to get a sample of the compost, finished compost, and do that. That didn't seem to go anywhere. I can get it, but I have to buy a yard of it. I asked the committee to allow me to get that sample, and whether you use it or not, at least it gives you a base point of what an outside party would do. And I certainly encourage the committee to enact something to require PFAS levels being monitored. So these ideas are wonderful. I think there's moving around the table at this point. So the reason, I guess the long and short of it is, we need to be proactive in what we're trying to do here. Like was just said here a moment ago, PCBs 50 years ago were looked at. This is no different. I challenge anybody in this room to go ahead and look into that internet and not pick a state randomly. Everybody is having PFAS problems, Maine especially. But there's multiple other ones. Virginia's going through it. There's a number of them, and these are just more in the last week or so. So these things aren't going away, and unless you monitor, you don't know where you stand. So that's my point here. And because I've been coming to so many of these meetings lately, at the Ag Committee, you had Kevin Dake, Gary Dake from Stewart's was here, and he was with the Workforce Development Group, the board, because they had some issues there. It was nice in a way because one of the supervisors said how well they like Stewart's ice cream and helped get him through the budget process here. Which was good. And he responded by saying how his relationship with Washington County has been very positive over many years. And I'm gonna assume at this point, it's because the farmers are providing milk to Stewart's for their products, which are, at least statewide at least, get a lot of prizes for being the best milk in the state. Which I certainly am proud of that, and I'm sure you guys are as well. So why, without making sure that quality is always 100%, because one like Stewart or other companies, if there's a risk, they're just gonna go somewhere else. And that, as I've said many times at these meetings, Washington County is very dependent on agriculture, and that's the long and short of it. And tourism, agriculture. So that the spreading is, I guess this is where I'm going to take it off into another area of.
Well, before you do that, sir, I think we might have gotten a little bit ahead. We're on the issue of the moratorium.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing on that? Don't reinvent the wheel. One of the things I've tried to do here is to send anyone here or to other counties. I've talked extensively with Schoharie County. I've talked with the town of Thurston, how they've done their moratoriums. The numbers you were throwing out, they stand on $1,000 a day. That's what they do. So there are other particulars, and I'm sure they've encountered some of what the concerns that are here today, and rightfully so. I just feel at the end of the day, the compost facility here honestly should be closed because we're in that memo, Mr. Gorman saying he's already handed out $20,000 worth of compost to farmers specifically. So the risk is there. And that's what I'm asking to, and that testing is part of it. So I guess before I get cut off,
Well, we're trying
can
to,
I come back to it?
well,
I got more to say, but,
yes, sir, you can come back to it.
okay.
For the question at hand, for the resolution that's on the table right now to establish a local law on the moratorium with a fine structure. First, second, we got the notes on the fine structure. We could always go back and look at adjacent counties. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I had a question for Dean. Seeing as how this is a moratorium and not a permanent at this point, there's a little more leeway on how fast the lawsuits may come in on us if we have somebody that's angry that they can't spread here, right?
It's possible. That's the only. Yeah, it's
And
possible.
$1,000 a day, how does that make sense if it's spread on the fields? If it's $1,000 a day till they go out and scrape the whole 10, 20, 30, 40 acres off the field, destroy it. So the $1,000, you gotta hit them the hard coming through the door. I'm sorry. Anyway, so that's it. I'm ready for a vote if everybody.
Okay. Any other discussion on the resolution that's on the table? And we are moving that to the full board. Is that correct?
Yes.
This December? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now to the discussion about testing.
Mr. Chairman, to start that discussion, I would like to make a motion that because we have been discussing that a bit. I'd like to put a motion that we implement a county PFA supplemental quarterly testing regimen at our compost facility.
Okay. Do I have a second? Second by Sue and Jay. Discussion.
And I say that as someone who has been affected by PFAs, and filtration systems in my house because of it. And someone who lost his personal doctor to cancer due to PFA contamination in Hoosick Falls. So I'm well aware of the stakes.
Thank you. Any discussion, other discussion? Yes, Jay.
Yeah, and I'm all for this to see where baselines change and whatnot. I have understand Kevin's concerns, how is this testing public, or is it gonna be in more control? I'm just throwing that out there.
It'll be public.
It'll have to be. Right, that's what I was, yep.
And the other discussion point is when you get yours tested where?
That'll probably add around environmental services, and we did test for all of the normal
Right.
PFAS chemical. They brought the two results to the conversation because that's the two that these interim guidelines are centered.
Right. And what's the, I'll add this to the table for conversation, third party independent. Anybody such as the Sierra compare results?
Ron, do you have access to that Sierra Club still?
Yes, I do. And what I had to tell the Thurston, Sierra Club was very helpful in not the soil, but the water samples that they took around that facility. So they are very helpful. They utilized it. And as far as the legal issues are concerned, they're not encountering the legal issue that we're talking about. Casella did write a letter to Ag and Markets initially out there. At the end of the day, the Ag and Market did write to the town, but never heard back from them after that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just concerned, where's the third party testing part coming in? If we're implementing a testing regimen.
Right.
And we have someone who already does our testing and it follows proper chain of custody.
Right.
Why do we need third party testing? If someone's third party testing, I'd assume that would be at their.
expense.
What
Yeah,
is the Sierra?
yeah,
I don't
makes
know
sense.
what the Sierra.
It's one of the,
Well, and you
an
don't have,
environmental not-for-profit, very big one.
you don't have it, like you say, you're not handling, you don't know who it's going through, handling.
That was my point.
That was
With
the point
anybody
last
taking
week,
my
yeah.
slash through testing, I can't
We-
hold any validity with If I'm required to do testing, it's gonna be my licensed operator
Absolutely.
doing the chain of custody and bringing it directly to the lab.
Yeah, and Charlie had his hand up. I'm sorry, I'll get to everybody.
So the testing, you're already doing it for more than PFAS that have specific guidelines. If we measure across the board, more PFAS that have specific guidelines in our state, but another state nearby has a lower guideline or a guideline on one of the PFASs that New York does, are we gonna find ourselves in a woulda, coulda, shoulda lawsuit down the line?
We're not establishing limits right now. We're just requiring initial testing. There are other states around us that have limits,
Right.
and the sample results I have are below that.
I follow that, but the risk would be, we should have known better, even though our state didn't, and we were aware of our levels. That's what I worry about. And that's okay, but I mean, if we have a level that's really, really high in an area, would we shut down?
Right, I mean, that's the next
Even
conversation
though
we'd
it's
be
not
having.
above our state's threshold.
If we happen to get a sample result that's not favorable, you know, what do we do at that point? So,
Honestly, how many-
I've got a question from Scott. You had your hand up, sir.
I kind of think that just for transparency's sake, we could have every other test be one from the county and one from Sierra Club or whatever independent agency wants to test.
This isn't about what they want.
Yeah.
This is all strictly informational for us at this point to know what it is. Our next step, we find dangerous soils, then we gotta figure out what we're gonna do about it, but we can't compare to 7 states around us to figure out what their levels are.
Yeah, this wasn't a comparison conversation. This was about
Getting
a third party
Information.
data point. Dana?
So Kevin, just for you, with these, so it was just a comment passed that we're spreading compost on farmers' fields right now, has been done. Were they under the limits that the state has set?
there are no limits.
There's no limit.
The testing that we've done was below the interim guidelines, you know, what in theory could be their future limits.
Okay. So that, and I think I've heard you say before, if these things are everywhere. So if, and I may be off topic and if I am.
No, go ahead.
But Ron, I just heard you say we need to shut down the sewer district. Is that what you just said again?
I recommend it. You're giving away more.
Yes or no? That's what you said, yes or no? Okay, so the idea is that we have an individual who wants to shut down our sewer district. What do we do then? I'll ask you, what do we do then? Now you can talk.
Goes to a landfill. There's approved landfills throughout the state. I've got a list of them right here.
What happens when those landfills close?
You wanna know the
They
cost?
will close.
Would have, should have, and could have comments going here. My thing is, with that compost that's being produced, he did an annual report to EDC that said that all the compost goes to landscaping throughout the county. Agriculture is also listed and he never checked that box. So we don't know where stuff is going. So that's why I'm so adamant that you're giving away 731 cubic yards of it per year. You sell 475. If it was a business, you'd have to go under. It just is not working. And the risk.
What we do is we don't have a sewer district. When I close down a sewer district, I ask everybody in the room, find out what you wanna do when you flush that toilet. Cause it's not going into imaginary land, okay?
There's places.
There's
Yeah.
places to put it, and so.
And they are shrinking and getting more expensive.
Yeah. Chairman?
I would have, and I have to preface this by saying I've had a long and contentious history with Sierra Club. I don't like them at all. I don't like their lobbyists, I don't like their lawyers, I don't like their policy makers. If we're gonna do testing, we should do scientific testing. We should do chain of custody just like you do. We should hire a professional engineer, if somebody else wants to test it. I got no faith whatsoever in something coming out of the Sierra Club. It is personal. And I'll say it right up front, you know, maybe I've been actually the past 6 months since the last time I dealt with it, but I would have trouble trusting a third party test on these things.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sue,
Feel like we're having two different conversations.
a little bit.
So the sewer district over here, closing down the sewer district, what I heard was the composting facility. They're connected, but they're two different things, right? Sewer district has a composting facility, which is what the concern is. It's the sludge coming out of the composting facility and being distributed over anything. Okay, last time they quoted that it was $20,000 for free fertilizer that was going out, that there's no certificate of risk on there when people don't sign off as to what they're getting. So the liability comes back to the sewer district, right? If there's contamination down the road, we're distributing that for free. Okay, so there's no sign off there. There is no, they have to, it's free. They get free fertilizer. To Jay's point, there's fertilizer that has been tested and is been found to stay within standards. But I think you saying that we're closing down the sewer facility.
That's what he said. I didn't.
I know,
say
but
so.
I think
He said.
you asked him the question and he answered yes.
Yeah, it's not a motion on the table or anything like that.
Oh, that was a concern. He made that comment in our town board meeting as well. Again, I asked the question. You start saying, oh, let's just close things down. Tell me where you're gonna start putting stuff, because I don't hear a lot of answers. All I hear is, oh, you gotta close it down. Sierra Club will take care of everything. We're good.
Okay, so the
Now,
composting
you
facility,
question what happened?
but the composting facility is just an addendum to the sewer district.
And why did they have that?
They have it because sludge is expensive to get rid of, so we're sending it out for free.
And where's the sludge company?
It's gonna make the county more expensive for everybody else.
Yeah, it's a necessary, it's a necessary,
Washington.
yeah. Go ahead. You have.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember my thought process, but I know one thing that came up in conversation before, fertilizer you could go purchase from any store around here. It's possible it could have a percentage of biocides in it, and that's also not tested for PFAS either, to my knowledge. As far as, us doing additional testing, I made the comment before, and I don't think it was favorably heard, but why wouldn't the purchaser who's going to be using that for any sort of end game, why wouldn't they be the ones that would have to do the testing?
That is not even close to realistic. Not even close. Nobody's gonna do that. It's kind of our responsibility to maintain the safety of our county. And I think it's a small price to pay. What's on the table right now is $2,000 a year. I think that's a very small price to pay to, at the very least, get the knowledge. I think going straight to closing the compost facility is like, starting a race to turn around and say it's finished. We need to get the knowledge to get to a place where we can make informed decisions.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
I'm sorry.
Charlie?
And
No, you're good.
this is a very complex problem. I don't think it's exactly like DDT used to be, because the uptake in the chain is a little different. But if I understand it, PFAS is everywhere already. It's in all the stuff we use and consume. And when we adjust it, we keep it. Kind of like DDT, it builds up, and we are wanting to do a better job, but I don't know if cutting off one circular loop of getting it in our system is the solution. The solution needs to be getting the origination of PFAS out of the system. And we can close that loop. I don't know how big a difference it is going to be in our overall health. And it'll make our county be a better label, absolutely. Just want to make sure we're aware the problem is a lot more than circulating PFAS into our soil through compost.
Yeah, it's a tight little loop. So, the reason why I wanted to have this conversation play out a little bit longer is there's a lot of layered ideas here and thoughts. So independent testing, all right, control of the samples, that kind of thing. I think the direction we're going in is we're gonna maintain control of that. We're gonna use scientific testing. We have a motion on the table and a second for quarterly scientific testing of our compost that's available to be utilized by residents and sold for use on soils here. or elsewhere for that matter. So we've got an effort here to collect some data and then make more informed decisions later on. Is that correct? Okay.
My question is, what is the later on? When am I to report back?
Well, bring the quarterly tests back, as you receive the results, to the committee. And we'll then go from there. So at the end of 2026, you're gonna have at least 3 data points.
Right.
And hopefully they'll get more guidance from the state on what their levels are, and we can make more informed decisions.
I think that the point is to be proactive in the data collection so that when the guidance comes down, we know right away where we land.
Right.
If they modify the guidance, we know if we're gonna get caught into something that we need to take immediate action on.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Or if one of the samples spikes tremendously, then we ought to be looking at the why. Where did that come from? You know,
Right, that-
back to Charlie's point, we should slow it down on the front end before it gets to you.
Right. Yeah, and that was my point. And that's the wheel that the state, I believe, is finding themselves in right now. You know, you do your sampling, and with any other parameter we're sampling for, if you get, a couple violations, we're not talking violations here, this is our own stuff going on, but, if I violate any other limits in my permit, they're gonna, one, okay, you get a couple, then you might get a notice of violation, they're gonna say, figure out what you're gonna do about this. PFAS is such a complex situation because it's coming from everything, it's in everything, where you go. You look at manufacturers, we don't have any known, if we did, I've already would have been sampling them, that may be contributing. It's in the ground from years past, it's in, I believe it's in shampoos, I believe it could be in cosmetics, pharmaceuticals.
Most plastics.
If you're sampling for them, there's 1,000 pharmaceuticals that are also in the sludge, so, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's just, we're gonna end up having another conversation, what do we do at that point? If we get one high, our wastewater treatment plant is designed to remove certain things, but every once in a while you get an escalation, and some point we're gonna get an escalation, I would only assume, and what are we gonna do at that point? But I guess we'll have the conversation when we get there.
Right, at least we'll go in with some better information.
Thank you.
Call the question.
Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One opposed. Yeah. Motion carries. Thank you. Any other business?
Brain hurts.
Again,
My brain hurts.
your brain here?
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry, we're gonna,
But can I just say one quick thing? I thank you for everything that you're doing here. At least you got the conversation going. But I'm gonna say this. You are faced with spreading it on soil, compost on soil. But you've got other areas. They're burning 8,000 tons of it through the incinerator plant. You've got Clean Earth trying to do a research and development project with 5,000 tons in Fort Edward. And that's in the permit process. This stuff is not going away. And it's incumbent upon Washington County to stay on top of it, proactive, as you said. In this testing, it's all great. However, it's public information, the results of that. I asked for a copy on that annual report, the lab results. And so I'm going through FOIL requests to get the results of that. That transparency isn't there. That's why I'm asking for a test.
sure. You just got it. Thank you.
And
And you're gonna get,
okay.
and you're gonna get quarterly results.
bless you.
When they get entered into the committee report,
Okay.
all right? So, are you good?
It couldn't be better.
Yes, sir.
Why don't we stop anybody from selling nonstick cookware, waterproof clothing? Let's go down the list. Let's just stop everybody from selling it. And we can go after every store in our county and say,
I
"Don't
thought you
sell
didn't want to
nonstick
make it
cookware."
more expensive to live in Washington County.
What's that?
I thought you wanted to make it.
No, like, this is the mindset. Let's go nonstick coating, waterproof clothing. You can do anything.
Goes down to sewer plant, transport everything across the country for millions of dollars in transport. costs.
How can we still allow smoking as well? Yeah, we are allowed.
Plastic on that cup, there it goes, yeah, can't have that here, get that plastic straw out of here.
Yep. Any other business before the public works meeting? We're not gonna solve that problem today. Hearing none, we're adjourned.
Unless you say. If anybody comes up with how to remove PFAS from water, you'd be a billionaire.
I know.
See the filtration system in my place.
I know.
What, and the activated carbon?
Huge canister.
Well, I'm
You ready? All right. Morning.
Morning.
Morning. First thing is to accept the minutes from October 28th. So moved. So moved. Second by Nate. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Heard. Start right out. Alternative sentencing.
Morning.
Good morning.
Have a positive information item that came a little bit late, but better late than never. We got notice that we were awarded, from DCJS, the block grant, the pretrial block grant. That's awarded to certified pretrial service, agencies. It's for program year 25-26 for $143,000, $143,29. Generally speaking, 25% goes into current budget and then 75% into next year's budget. However, I have to come up with a spending plan that needs to be approved by the state. There's not a match to this funding. It's just funding. We have to present a spending plan. So I'm gonna meet with Al and Melissa and kind of come up with a plan that would work for these funds. So just.
So we need them. No motion to accept anything, yes.
I don't. Al, do I need a motion to accept the funds yet, or just when we get the spending plan together? I didn't.
So it depends on if you're gonna do anything in this year's budget. We've only got a month left.
I'm thinking we will not do anything in this year's budget.
So I would, then I would prefer to have our meeting first and then come back to committee with the plan.
Anybody have any questions then? Hey,
Is there any commitment after this expiration of the $143,000 for us to commit to all futures?
No, so we did not, we have received pretrial dollars out of, I think it's a legislative ad in the governor's budget for the last 3 years. However, we don't know that we're going to get it. It's not something that we have to apply for. It's not something that's there. So there has been no commitment whatsoever. We have used the funds to purchase things like, one, to offset our pretrial dollars that are spent for staff to be at cap, but to buy things like our Atlas online platform for, that we use with pretrial release under supervision folks, or for court ordered people to take classes. So we've been able to, we use some of the dollars to pay for that subscription for a year. We've used some dollars to purchase a pretrial tablet. So we've done some things like that in the past with the dollars. We never know, one, that we're going to get them, or what exactly. This year, I know one of the things that I wanted to talk to Melissa about is that our copier, it's okay. We did not put it into our budget this year, but it's aging. So whether that would be something that we could purchase with these dollars, which probably is $10,000. I don't know how much a copier is, but like, so whether that's something that we can add to put in under this grant or not, or this funding source.
That's something you have to ask the state about, or
So they're whatever our spending plan is, they do have to look at it and approve it. It's generally just been a nod, yes, the money comes. So it's not anything that it says that we can use it for equipment, for supplies, to offset, pretrial expenses. So to be determined as far as like what we want to spend the dollars on.
thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Sheriff. Yeah. Looks like a bunch of money things.
Yes.
Huh?
End of the year financial house meetings. First one I have, small one, $600. 3150, 3152, 4150 to 40/20. That's in the jail side, and that's, with a cap or, you can't move money between those lines. You do work for us. $600.
By Dane, second by Nate. Any questions, discussions? In favor, aye?
Aye.
And then, on the road patrol side, we need to move three lines. One is 11,000, one's 4,112, and one's $3,000. And that's between lines to cover uniforms, equipment, and postage. Those amounts, and I think that amounts for the numbers. The line numbers are in the,
I'll make that motion.
Motion, second by Scott. Questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
and then the next one is to use $90,000 from our point ones to cover carpool expenses.
That's
Put it on here.
Yes.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Yeah, it might be different. I'm telling you.
You have a floor.
Yeah, that is definitely different. The next one will explain why.
So. This is to move what here?
From our point one, so from our salary line, which we can't move money between those lines. Get board approval for that.
To carpool.
To carpool, yeah. And honestly, I budgeted a little low for 25 in the carpool. About $50,000 less than what 24 was, but I think it was full budgeting. We didn't increase the size of the carpool, but you know, it's a dark throw with fuel costs and all that maintenance and all the things related.
Okay, we have a motion to second,
Same.
discussion.
Oh, no.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Vote.
And the last thing I have is, I was gonna ask to use contingency funds for 4 lines, actually. We needed to move, and again, these are all jail related lines. And these are lines that are short. One was $100,000. That's our food line. And again, that one is, that's a tough one to try to plan for a budget for because of the cost of food that goes up and all things related in the jail. And then $30,000 for medical, same thing, like we don't know how many sick inmates we're gonna get, how sick they are. And then $40,000 for hospital fees related to take care of. And $20,000 into supply line, so added up. It's 190,000. I was gonna ask for a contingency, but we just got word from the state yesterday that our reimbursement for state ready inmates and the medical assisted treatment program is going to be $218,400. So that will cover those 4 items that I just listed. And so we don't have to use contingency basically.
It just made everything a little better feeling. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say easier, but.
Yeah. Are we, Sheriff, I guess we had 2 forms in here that are,
Yeah, this, we found out yesterday about the revenue.
okay,
And then we found out this morning about the line, well, we discovered the one line this morning, supply line. Because the bills, you know, we get bills every day, so it's hard to keep track. We actually spoke with the treasurer this morning.
We'll make sure you have the right numbers for the finance resolution and review.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I'll make that motion.
Move it finance. Second by Scott. Any more questions? On favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
I just wanted to thank the sheriff too for doing what I asked all the department heads to do. He had a conversation with me before committee. So anything that we needed to work out was worked out, and I didn't have to raise my hand and say anything. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. That was only because I had good news.
Well, we probably keep bugging you all year long on how we can save some money on the state required inmates and the juvenile inmates and see if we can cut that down somehow.
For sure.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Eric.
Eric.
Public defender.
Good morning.
Morning.
So first issue is another DCJS grant we received, similar to alternative sentencing. We received two separate grants, one for 104,061, the second one for 102,993. We received these grants last year also. We received a little more. Each grant was $111,000 last year. These are intended for discovery reform. They're labeled Aid to Defense Discovery Reform. There's no contract, but again, we should have a spending plan and we should have a meeting about the spending plan, and I assume that'll all be in. But I just wanted to notify you, we did receive the $207,000 from DCJS. The next issue I wanted to address was, we've had meetings earlier in the year about federal reimbursement for parental representation. It's a potential revenue source. We did have a meeting with an outside vendor. I'm just bringing the issue up again, that perhaps if it's okay, I'll continue to look for vendors that pursue this kind of reimbursement for parental representation, because again, right now we're getting zero reimbursement, and it seems any reimbursement that's available may be worth it. I'm not certain, but I didn't want the issue to go away. So I'm addressing it, and hopefully we can schedule a meeting in 26 to continue to try to pursue that reimbursement. Next issue again is just another unresolved issue in that we have a proposed Correll Herring contract. He wants to add $330,000 to the Correll Herring settlement implementation contract. And that's $200,000 to the assigned counsel office, $135,000 to the public defender's office. We haven't signed that contract. I don't believe we're ever going to sign it based on the way it is right now. So I think we need to notify ILS that we're not going to sign the contract, so we can try to renegotiate that additional funding. That was additional funding for 2025 and for 2026. And the assigned counsel money was just to pay invoices, I believe. So that's $200,000 to pay invoices that we should definitely try to get resolved and realize that revenue. But the 135 in my office, I think the hangup was the funding was largely to pay for raises, and I think that's where we hit an issue. So we'll have to have further meetings about that, but I do want to just keep that on the agenda as far as we have an unresolved contract that wants to add funding. The next thing is just an update on the present staffing in the office, and we did make a recent change to the staffing pattern, but right now I have myself, 2 supervisors, 2 assistant public defenders, and 1 part-time public defender that are all working. I have 1 full-time public defender that's out on maternity leave, but she will be back shortly. And then for vacancies, it's my understanding I have 1 full-time vacancy and 3 vacancies that can be filled on a part-time basis. I do have leads on filling the 3 part-time positions, and I'm optimistic that I'll be able to fill those pretty shortly. The full-time positions, we've had that noticed for quite some time and I have pursued it, including through law schools, and I'm still having a difficult time receiving even resumes on them. So that is the update I wanted to offer on the staffing pattern. Then the final issue is, I believe my term expires at the end of the month. I'm requesting to be reappointed. I believe it's an honor and a privilege to be doing this job. I think there's a lot of serious challenges ahead. I think we've found ourselves, we've kind of come full circle on the whole Harrell Herring litigation, where we're back to having some real serious issues, and I'd like to continue to address these issues. So I am requesting to be reappointed. That's the last issue I had.
Motion to move it full board.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Al.
Mike, before you go, the money that they were gonna give you for your department for raises. Could we ask them to use that for your new 3 part-timers? Because not only do the 3 part-timers reduce the $158 an hour, but if it's funded by somebody else, that's a win twice over.
We can, and actually, thank you for bringing this up, because that was an issue I wanted to address. I
Okay.
think we have this unsigned contract with
Cause
Harrell Herring.
that's a new cost to your department.
But we have, in my own opinion, we have significant issues with all of the funding streams.
Okay.
In that, what we should be concerned about is the lines that have these allocations that we're never gonna spend.
Right.
And maybe we can move those to lines where we're going to spend them. And for instance, there's an investigator that I think is funded in one of these contracts.
It'll never be spent.
And that we are going to probably approve
There's,
the position.
there's mentoring money, there's second chair money, there's all kinds of stuff that we will never spend now.
And I believe the family court grant has a social worker position
It's
that
never
we
been
haven't
filled.
filled. So there's a lot, on paper, it looks like they're giving us
But-
a lot of funding, but if you look at what we're actually using it on,
It's not that.
it's less funding. It's still a lot of funding.
Love to have that conversation.
So, that was part of
Thank
the fact that this Harrell Herring contract is not signed.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mike.
Sign council.
Is canceled,
Anybody?
withdrawn. Tom Chandler requested to be withdrawn. The assigned council item agenda on here D,
Yeah,
he has withdrawn that request,
okay,
but couldn't be here today, so we asked me to let you.
okay. We also had a question on assigned council that Dana wanted to bring up. I think we need to get it into the minutes here.
Yeah, I was hoping to be here. Was it November, October audit? We were talking about the ATV file, the cost of them. October, yeah. So we asked Stacy to give us a report, I believe. And when I was looking at it, it looks like we have 3 or 4 attorneys out of the Albany area, the capital region area, over 200,000 a year. And looking at the local attorneys, they weren't even close to those numbers. So my understanding of reading those bills, we pay not only the cost of those attorneys for their legal work, but we're also paying their travel. I'd like to know, are we legally required to pay their travel?
Yes.
We are. Do you know,
Because-
Dan, why are we not giving more caseload to the local attorneys as opposed to the attorneys out of the capital region?
That I don't, I mean, I will say the number of local attorneys taking assigned counsel cases. Since I began practicing when I was taking assigned counsel cases has gone down significantly.
You know why?
Well, a lot of people that used to do it have gotten older, retired. You don't have a large number, as Mike indicated, you can't find people. I can't get anybody to come out of the law school to start doing it.
Understood.
I
I spoke to an attorney yesterday who said she would take more cases.
Oh, I
Lives
don't
locally. That's why
have-
I don't understand, why are we giving and paying travel costs?
Are we not getting the word out to some of these younger ones, what there is that could supplement their They're,
No, I think they're getting it, because there are, I mean, I can tell you, one of the local attorneys who probably doesn't get a lot of work down here, I know he's taking cases up in Clinton County as a site counsel, so.
And he's getting paid travel to do so.
Right, because you get paid from the moment you leave your office till the moment you get back.
So I'm just gonna ask the question out loud. Is there this agenda out there that these guys back and forth, they give each other assigned counsel cases in remote areas in order to pay for travel, to boost up the cost of their, I guess, their revenue?
You could probably find some evidence of that. I'm not gonna come right out and say it, 'cause
Okay.
I can't prove it.
Well, I was hoping, Tom, I'd like to see us stop, do as much of the casework as we can locally, as opposed to giving it to agents or attorneys out of the capital region, because these numbers are skyrocketing. They're going through the roof. Like, I think we're over 1 million just in the capital region attorneys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's gotta stop. That's why I want that.
Are those cases assigned on like they put their name on a list and they just go down the list one by one?
In theory, the way it's supposed to work is you have your panel. And presumably, it's much like a judge's will, as it goes, when I did assigned counsel work. I used to get a phone call, hey, can you take this case on this day in this court? And your schedule allowed you to, you usually said yes. I assume that's probably the way it's still doing. There are some attorneys that are only gonna do criminal. There are some attorneys that may only do family court. You'll get a few that do both. It's kind of dependent on who's available.
Would it be legal for us to have a local policy that local attorneys are offered first?
Private.
I think you can certainly give a direction to that effect. I mean, obviously, as we've heard, there's caseload standards and everything, and how they're being enforced. I don't know, because, you could be saying a person's meeting caseload standards in this county, but if they're taking cases in 3 other counties, they're probably not. But I don't think personally ILS is doing the monitoring necessary to enforce that.
Tony, would you like to weigh in on this? What the discussion is that we seem to be hiring a lot of attorneys for assigned counsel out of the Albany area, and why can't we get more local people to do it?
I would imagine that's the same conversation that's happening in all of the counties around. I think they're all seeing that same reality. I think, to me, the starting point on any of this has got to be, what's the caseload standard for the public defender's office, and then how does that impact the need for ATV attorneys to be assigned in cases where there's not an actual conflict. But I don't think we're unique to this conversation. I know counties around are all experiencing the same thing. People from Fonda are traveling to Clinton County, and people in Clinton County are traveling to Fonda. That's the reality of the system that's been put in place around the state.
Charlie?
Well, I think Dana's dancing around an interesting topic. If this were being done as a government agency in the county, we could go through an Article 78 or a Section 51 on misuse, waste of government funds. And this smells like an opportunity that's getting away from that ability to have scrutiny over how we're assigning counsels.
Yeah, part of it is also, and I know Mike and I have had a philosophical disagreement on this. Mike Ricker, okay, who was just here, no longer here to defend himself. Sometimes when he has a conflict, the general rule is a conflict for the department head is a conflict for the entire office. So if I had a conflict, I'd have to farm that, because, if I give it to one of my subordinates, I can still tell them how to do something. Whereas and I'll take an example, I'll use Tony as well. Let's say Tony has an ADA who has a conflict. They can give it to someone else in the office initially and just make sure that ADA doesn't have any contact. Same thing. Right now, I'm not a good example because there's only 2 people in my office, but if Anna had a conflict, I'd handle the case and she'd have nothing to do with it. And I think sometimes if there's a conflict at Mike's office, he could send someone else, but doesn't necessarily want to send two assistants to the same court at the same time to handle, say, one case or two cases. So that may be part of it. But I don't know that it's as much part of it that it's gonna have that big an impact.
Tony, I hear what you're
You
saying.
want me to come up here?
Yeah, I don't mind. So I don't have to turn and look at you. Look right at you, Tony. So I heard what you said. I feel like I heard it. And I'm just gonna say the out loud part because I feel like maybe I'm just somebody who feels like he's it's ripe for abuse, I guess is what I would say. This travel back and forth. Is that if we have somebody in Clinton County saying, hey, you guys want to come up here and work some cases, then let us come down there and work your cases. I don't know if that's happening. I hope it's not. But it feels to me like, what's the mileage rate that we reimburse for?
62 cents. Mine.
62 cents a mile.
Time.
And time.
Plus $157 an hour.
Plus, they can think about it, they get an extra 15 minutes, is that true?
No,
If
you
they
actually
go
have to
case-
you're supposed to justify
So
in writing, Journal, what your time sheet is. At least that's the way I used
I guess what I want to ask for is to have Tom provide us with an explanation of why these costs are rising out of control so rapidly. I mean, it looks like the numbers have escalated quickly. And it feels like I'm hearing that there are attorneys here who actually will go to Essex County. And attorneys from Capital Region will handle our cases. It strikes me as very odd that you can't find less of a conflict of interest just using a Warren County attorney or a Saratoga County attorney. I feel like there's something, something bad.
As I said, part of the problem is, as I said, the pool is a lot smaller than it used to be.
Yep.
But can you certainly, ask Tom, is there a reason why you're not offering it to the local attorneys first?
Or doing it
I think
himself.
that's- I
Can he
think-
do it himself?
He could. I think it's a legitimate question.
Well, these are the questions I want answered because it feels to me like this is one that's getting out of control again, and I want to head it off as early as we can. I know the entire audit committee questioned it last, and I did call Tom. He called me back, but I didn't call him back like months ago just because I got distracted. But now, at keeping in the philosophy, keeping the pedal to the metal, I want to address these expenses quickly. So how do we do that? How do we give that direction or request he give us direction? on
I've
what's
reached
going on?
out to him as you speak.
Thank you.
Yeah, so hopefully next month.
Couple of things. You are the appointing authority of that department, just a reminder. Number two, you'll remember this because you were one of them. We used to contract some of this stuff. Right? We had contracts for like prison cases, parole cases. And we weren't worried about who was getting assigned cases. We said, hey, Dan Martindale, we're gonna pay you X amount of dollars to handle all of this nonsense for us. And I think that world might be something that we're remiss not looking at that again. I forget his name, and you told me 15,000 times. But he used to love doing the prison cases. He ate it up.
Yeah,
Right.
we don't have, I don't think we have.
But we had a-
Correct me if I'm wrong, we had a lot more of those said cases.
Right, but I'm just using that as an example of something we used to do to control costs. We said, hey, contracted attorney, we're gonna enter into a contract with you and you're gonna handle this group of cases for us. And we didn't have to worry about what county you're coming from and all the additional nonsense that went along with it. So that might be something that's worth talking about as well.
I would hope that in the interest of common sense and costs, that when we have a list, like Scott says, that we start local and then work our way out at distance, right? Rather than just grabbing whoever's next on the list.
And if it's not happening, we need to change it quickly.
So I have a question, if public defenders have a caseload, right? That caseload is assigned no matter if it's 5 minutes a month or 10 hours a month, correct? What's the punishment if people have a light caseload, hour-wise? Why couldn't we have them do more cases? Seems stupid to me.
Because at least with the assigned counsel panel, you have the right to refuse the assignment. You're not an employee, so you have. Public defender's different story.
But what happens if, I'm gonna ask it a different way, because I can't get an answer and I've asked it several times. What if our caseload is 5 and they do 8, what's the punishment? What can they do to us if an attorney takes 3 more cases that took 5 minutes of their time? I can't understand. It's, oh, we have a caseload, we can't do that. Well, what's the punishment? You've asked similar questions about other programs that we've. What happens? Because for $158 an hour, I'll take a slap on the wrist. Thank you very much.
Right. Who have you asked that question of and I got the answer?
In this room and to a couple of the people involved in the process, and I'll ask it again to ILS, because that's apparently what everybody's afraid of. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but my answers continue to be ILS, ILS, ILS. Well, okay, ILS, tell me, if you're gonna pull my $2 million worth of funding, then I hear you. But if the repercussion is don't do that again, I'm doing it.
Stop or I'll tell you to stop.
Stop or I'll tell you to stop again.
Charlie.
Maybe I'm not fully understanding it, but it's also at the receiving end of the phone call from ILS. If I know the situation and I'm getting a call for a local case, I'll say no, because I know a couple hours later, I'm gonna get a call for a case in another county. And I think we shouldn't be talking here, we should be talking to other people in other counties as well, to see how big the problem is.
And how they measure caseload supervisors is something I'd really like an answer to, because if they're counting arraignments in caseload, for the love of God, that's an hour over here in front of a judge that, oh, that counted as a caseload because you represented them on their ROR. That's not, and I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV, but some of this stuff just doesn't pass the common sense test.
It's right, it's too ripe for opportunity to.
Add your salary.
Yeah.
Call it what it is.
Feels that way.
I
hope I'm
wanna
wrong.
prove that it's not. That's what we wanna prove.
Right.
So I too would like the answers to the questions that you're asking, and beyond that, if we hit a dead end there. I've been saying this, and maybe I just need to find out what the process is so we can get this started. I would like to see a cost benefit analysis for changing our attorney pay rates. So we can attract people to work here and we're not paying. If we're paying an attorney $200,000.
I think you're gonna see the beginning of that, Mr. Hahn, with the 3 part-timers. I think you're gonna start seeing that now.
Okay.
I think you're gonna get some of your answers now. I believe that to be true.
Thank you. So we'll see what happens with the part-timers and then.
Because I even said to Melissa just this morning, I don't care if they take 3 cases. It's 3 cases that we didn't pay $158 an hour on. Right. Every case is a win. Every case. So I think you're gonna see some immediate feedback on that question.
Any more discussion on this? Only on what could be our next steps to address this? Dan, do you have a suggestion? You want time to think about it? That's fine as well.
As I said, I think a discussion with Tom about, we want to ensure that the local attorneys, and you may have to define what local means.
Impossible contracts.
Impossible contracts.
Yep.
For a conflict.
I guess could we add that to next month's agenda? Please, yeah.
Because, quite honestly, I'll tell you, I would almost bet parts of my anatomy that your major problems,
Okay.
because if we get multiple respondents, and, most cases, both sides of the custody matter have assigned counsel. Some of you will public defender will assign counsel. I've had cases where there have been 10 attorneys on the matter.
And Dan, you mentioned several times about the refiles being an issue.
Yeah, well, Tony and I begged for a court, or at least I begged for a court filing fee from our chief administrative judge when we had a meeting with him, and we were told no in certain terms that was not gonna happen.
Maybe there's other alternatives. Scott.
So would this be a good case where we can then put out for a contract to somebody to take all the family court cases?
Well, you won't be able to take all the family court cases. When I had my contract, I did the support violations. And granted, this was back when the support magistrate was 2 days a week. Now it's 4. if not 5, it's 4 days a week. I did all of the child protective defense. I was the first person in child protective defense. The other contract attorney was the second one. You know, you can't tell me you're gonna take all the family court cases, the person will get burned out a month, if that. But you can structure it a certain way, you can take some of the load off. So that they're, you know, you might very well eat up a large part of that expense.
And Dan's not wrong, the family court line has spent $547,000 compared to $351 in the criminal felony case line.
Do you have year-over-year numbers too, Al?
I'm sorry?
Do you have year-over-year numbers?
Last year it was 691 in family and 611. It was closer last year in the felony versus family. This year it looks like there's a much bigger spread between the felony line and the family court line.
There was a homicide trial last year.
Up through this current, through the current audit, yes, through the November.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Dana, for bringing up and the audit committee, because this stuff we don't hear from the audit committee that they pick up on in there and have discussion, and they need to be brought forward.
Everybody should be going to that meeting every month. It's a blast.
It's mind-boggling.
Yep. Some of the things you come across.
It's a blast. Bob's there. He loves it. It's great. Audit's a good time.
It's my favorite. Yeah. Best day of the month out here.
Thank you. And thank you, Tom. Thank you, Dan. Al.
Public defender.
Thank you.
No, public safety. I'm sorry. I'm still thinking.
After all that,
Yeah,
I don't want
no,
that.
right. You too,
Come out
bud.
here.
Wow.
We're gonna try not to abuse you quite as much.
I have 30 minutes to complete this test and pencil it down.
What
the hell, Jim?
We'll get next time, so.
Thanks,
You do.
Whenever you're ready.
So first off is update on our EMS program. November was our first full month of operations for both initiatives, the GAP ambulance coverage and the ALS first response. The GAP coverage began with some test deployments in the summertime, late summer, and the ALS portion went on fully online November 3rd. Just a basic overview of the GAP coverage for November. They had 13 shifts where they went out to provide GAP coverage. Of those, there were 12 responses. Our first responders, ALS first responders, had 23 shifts during the month and had 35 responses out of those 23 shifts. And in accordance with the Department of Health EMS support grant, we'll continue to evaluate both of those and provide additional comprehensive reporting as we progress. The program is still in its infancy, and our team and partners, will look at it and see what needs to be massaged, if you will, make it more efficient. EMS advisory board appointments, we have 2. One is Brianne Benson from the Fort Edward Rescue Squad. And the second is Haley Spezio from the Middle Falls Fire Department.
Their motion to move those to the board?
Motion.
Second by Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
The third is Fort Ann Rescue Squad has requested a letter of support from the county. They are in the process of requesting a expansion of their ambulance operating authority. This is the second submission, correct?
Yeah.
So there, with the first one, I believe there were just some application issues. But at that time, there was a public hearing and the hearing officer did determine that there was public need for what they were requesting. And what it comes down to is they're requesting to add Glens Falls Hospital to their operating certificate for transport purposes. And we've got Chief Noble and Deputy Chief Noble here to answer questions that you may have regarding that.
Go ahead, Scott. What effect does this have on your actual response to your responsible areas?
So we've been doing this now for roughly 3 years, and it's actually improved our response. In 2023, we were only staffing about 8 hours a day. And with the rise in costs, we had to figure out a way to increase our staffing hours to 24 hours a day. And Empire, I don't know if anybody understand Empire Ambulance, they were going under. So we saw the opportunity to kind of do what they were doing. So we got into that line of work. And by doing so, we've been able to increase our staffing from 8 hours a day to 24 hours a day in 2023. And then in 2024, we went to 2 crews a day. In 2025, we have 4 crews on during the day now. So we haven't dropped a call in our own district for years. Every town and village resident or animal received an annual. Also increased our response time from 16 minutes when I first took over almost 8 years ago to 3. We're averaging 1 minute, 6 minutes this year right now from the time we're dispatched to an ambulance. So most of our residents are receiving an ambulance attendant service. We also, I'm sorry.
Strictly selfishly speaking, you guys are responsible for part of my town. Is there always going to be somebody that is available for response and you're not going to have 4 ambulances doing transit?
2. So our duty crew is district owned and never leaves our district. It is there 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Monday through Friday, we have an additional crew. Those hours vary kind of based off seasonally. We have our busy season, our slow season like any other town. And I believe right now, the month of December, from noon until 8 p.m., we have a second crew to backfill our district. So when our primary crew goes out within our own district. So yes, every year it has. Harper, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Harper will always have an ambulance along the town.
Well, I'm happy.
Yes.
So if we do notice that our district is getting busier or surrounding districts are getting busier, we won't do transports. So we will actually hold those crews. So if our duty crew goes out and our secondary crew goes out on 911s, we'll hold those 2 transport crews and not do any transports to make sure that we still have ambulance coverage for Fort Ann and Hartford and the little portions of the other districts that we do cover.
Dana?
What's that mean to be a transport? You mind just describing that?
Yeah, so patients who are already brought to Glens Falls Hospital may need medical transport back to a facility, a nursing home, a rehab facility, or to higher level of care. So we do a lot of interfacility to interfacility, Glens Falls back to the Granville Center, Slip Valley Nursing Home, the Washington Center. But we have spent the majority of this year specializing in what we call specialty care transports. So critical patients that need to get to Glens Falls Hospital to a higher level of care, say at Albany Med. We are all of our paramedics are specially trained to do a little bit more than any other agency's paramedics can do. We just recently filed to become what's called an ATS organization. We'll be able to transport patients with blood. We'll be the only ambulance agency in the Tri-County, I believe, that will be able to do that once the state approves it, which the state was a little bit slower on the DOH side, so it's going to be a little bit. But we're also trained to do a little bit more in the field and administer a few more drugs than other agencies can. So we do a lot of that, but I'd have to say the majority of what we do are BLS, basic life support. So nursing home to nursing home, but we did notice a big increase from last year. We did about 150 specialty care transports. We've done about 500 this year. But each year, the amount we have done has increased as the business grew a little bit. But we have capped it because we don't want to become too big. Because if we do become too big, then it does start pulling resources away. So we've kind of found our limit. And we've done about 1,700 in facilities this year alone.
So it increases your revenue. That helps you guys, right? Is that the idea? And who else does it around here? I know Wilton does. Who else does this?
So I can't speak for Saratoga County because I know Wilton's the only person in the Saratoga region other than Moreau Ambulance.
Yep.
The problem is legality of it. So the Department of Health says that an agency like us can do an interfacility move under the premises of mutual aid. So if the home CON, which right now is currently the ambulance, the Powder Blue ambulance driving around, the city of Glens Falls and Mohawk ambulance, they have to contact them first. The city of Glens Falls doesn't have the resources to do interfacilities because they're pretty busy in the city of Glens Falls. Ambulance is a little overwhelmed. They don't have enough resources to keep up with the volume. So then they reach out to mutual aid agencies. So I believe, we're contacted right after the primary, and then after us is Warrensburg. West Glens Falls does some here or there. Moreau.
You said Moreau.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good.
A lot of the
Moreau
other
did me a few
agencies
years
will do
ago.
that on a smaller basis, so like Cambridge does them a lot, they are more focused though out of SVMC. Rather than Glens Falls. Argyle has done a handful, Skeensboro's done a handful. It's not just us doing them, we just do them in a bigger quantity.
You know, like I said, the problem is the legality of it. CMS, Center for Medicaid Services, is pretty strict, where their wording of their policy states you have to have a certificate of need to be able to legally bill a patient. We didn't find that out until January, February of this year, after we'd already been doing it for 2 years. So we started the process to file for an expansion of territory to make it legal. Our application went up the first time. An attorney did do our application the first time, and there were 3 clerical errors within the application, so we ended up getting kicked back. So we've now spent the last 3 months ourselves working with some other people outside of our agency that have helped us redo our whole entire detailed narrative and packet to resubmit.
Thanks. Is there a motion due? So
I'm just curious on the transporting, that cost goes back to the patient's family, correct? Or is it through medical insurance?
Through medical insurance. So the goal of all of this was, with the rising costs of ambulance services in general, was to not ask our town. For the last, I want to say 4, maybe 5 years, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, I don't think we've asked for much of an increase over the last couple of years. I think we've always sat between 135 and 145 with what we've got from our town every year, which is grateful. I'm very grateful for, but we don't want to ask our town for more money. So we've tried to figure out a way to do it without having to ask for more, and this is done. It makes it very busy, but the insurance aspect is a whole nother animal. And I don't still fully understand it. We do have a third-party biller that does our billing for us. But we do take some patients that don't have health insurance, but we have policies within our organization where we work with them. But we also do pro bono transports. We do write off quite a few. I had a lovely woman come to me the other day and say, I have Social Security, I'm on a fixed income, I got a $3,800 bill. What can I? And I asked her, I said, well, what did your insurance? She said, my premium $180. And I said, so we took it to our board voted, and we wrote off. And we do quite a few of those.
The other question we have was, I had heard now, like a family could do an transport. Okay, so they to the Conference Hospital to West. So before you could do that, and now the driver or the family member has to take a course in order to transport?
outside of, away from an ambulance, so I can't really answer that one, because I think it's more of a hospital end.
It's a fairly new concept.
Yeah.
Say yes.
Oh, yeah, I can definitely look into that, I've never heard of that, but I can absolutely.
Dan?
Yeah, so Tom, you've been doing this for 3 years, and I know you said one where there was a requirement, but it's my understanding that a certificate of need covers just a certain area. Okay, and I know that you know the difference because back when we wanted to break off a part of Island Dock, which you had the CNO for.
Yeah.
You made us go through the whole process in the Bay Ridge Rescue Squad at the time, which you know, Queensbury Rescue Squad.
Yeah.
So that they had to form that so that they could have that sliver of the pie. Okay, so I know that you knew it had to be done. That concerns me. The other thing that concerns me is that the premise of what you operate under is a not-for-profit corporation. And you clearly want to make this into a profit corporation. And if that's what you want to do, then file as a for-profit business. So we can put the facilities back on the tax rolls for the people because you're operating as a business to make a profit. You know, I can't disagree with the fact that the service has been there. Okay, I think we can agree on that. But you know, and like I said, the rest of the supervisors, you all know what you put into it. We put $146,000 into it. And it just never seems to be enough. And I don't know. And they do more mutual aid, which is an honorable thing. But I don't know where we draw the line. If you're doing something for 3 years and you start out by saying that the requirement was you had to have a certificate of need to do that, then you did it for 3 years without a certificate of need. You know, which brings in a credibility issue with me as to how you could know, because of what we had to do to facilitate the certificate of need for one part of the town, which had always been a handshaking agreement for many, many years. And you sat at the meeting and told us that, and in front of people in Queensbury as well, because we had their organization there, and we talked with the supervisor there as part meeting. There was about the bottom line, about the dollars and cents. So, you know from the beginning that our town board is not in favor of this. And in fact, I didn't know you would come here and address this till today when I happened to look at the agenda. So, you know, I know based on my board and what they want to do, if it's covered before, we're going to be voting no on at the town. Or I'll be voting here in that manner. So, you know, I just wanted to put that out there. I've seen his plan is to organize in a number of medics he's gonna bring on new for 26 and 27. I think timing was like 25 or 27 each year.
25 medics.
That you said you had new EMTs. That's what's in your
Well,
5
that's the place to get up to.
Increase.
Right, so when we first started, when I took over in 2018 roughly, I think we had 2 drivers, 2 EMTs, an AEMT and 1 CCT. Which isn't even enough to staff, I think it was 2 days, 2-3 days a week. And today, I believe we have 35 total employees and 26 volunteers. We've met that goal. That gives us 24-hour staffing, 365 days a year. But it doesn't leave us with anything extra. We have a call out, costs us overtime. Our goal in 2026 was to bring on another medic and 2 more EMTs, to increase a little bit more, to help cut down on any overtime. As we said before, any board that does this knows your biggest expense is payroll. And so if we can cut down on overtime, it can lower a little bit of our payroll. And I do apologize, Sam, to your point. I wish I had this question asked sooner. I absolutely would have answered it. Hospital, non-emergent interfacilities operate differently than 911 calls. You are 100% correct when you said that 3-4 years ago, when we found out that Island Knob, which I had no idea that Island Knob was town of Florida until I drove out there, saw a beautiful sign that says town of Florida. I'd never driven out there. you have to have a CON to take a 911 call. That the Department of Health says that. You have to have a CON to operate outside of your primary territory. But for non-emergent transports, the DOH standards are a little bit different. We require a CON not because of DOH standards, but because of CMS standards, the Center for Medicaid Services. It's a billing issue. Any agency who is doing interfacilities, and I believe the Systems Committee under the CMAT last year, the year before, defined the term mutual aid. And you are no longer mutual aid when you are consistent and reliable. And at the volume that we are doing them at, we are no longer considered mutual aid if we are consistent and we are reliable. So we would require a CON, or we could be audited. Any agency can be audited by CMS. And if they find out that you're consistent and you're reliable and it's no longer considered mutual aid, which in 2023 and 2024, we were considered mutual aid because we weren't consistent and weren't reliable. We would have to pay back every cent that CMS paid out. And that is one of the reasons that Fulton EMS closed their doors. I think it was last year, the year before, 2 years ago. They were audited by CMS and were required to pay back a lot of money. It's happened statewide. That's also why Mohawk Ambulance 3 years ago filed for a CON because they're consistent, they're reliable. And they filed for a CON in Glens Falls. Their CON actually went right up to, at least Murray Street, right after the bridge in Glens Falls or whatever. That's where their CON ended. So 3 years ago, they filed for a CON just like we're doing, and they went 100 feet past Glens Falls Hospital. So they literally filed for a bubble around Glens Falls Hospital, which is exactly what we're doing. What we're attempting to do. So 911s and non-emergent facilities are a little bit different, and I'm not an expert. I don't plan to be. As a 501c3 organization, all of us are, Fort Edward, Fort Ann, Stingsboro, we're all 501c3. We have to be able to profit. But all of our money goes back into the organization. No singular person, but I'm not an attorney. I don't understand it. That's why we have an attorney that deals with it. I don't understand it. 501c3s at all. I'd be using an attorney for that. But from everything that I have understood, we are operating completely legal, but we are required to get this. I believe Moreau Ambulance is going to be required to have anything. And Warrensburg EMS, who is also doing a consistent amount, is going to have to file as well.
And I will add that the closure of Great Meadow Correctional Facility actually hindered your operation considerably.
It did. We lost about 80 to 90 calls a year. We had a separate contract with the state for inmates, patients, sorry. And all 80 calls was a loss. It was a significant loss to our organization. So we had to find a way to make it.
Yeah, you mind if I ask you? You said the town board's opposed to this? Yes. If the idea is to increase your revenue, thereby relying less on taxpayer funding, why are they opposed to me asking?
Yeah, because we don't know what that money's gonna go towards. That's gonna be separate money. That's a separate thing. That doesn't come into the town, that goes to them. That doesn't. In other words, you're doing it now. And they still want to stay at the same dollar amount, which we gave was $136,000. So there's no level there to show that that's what the intent's gonna be, is we're gonna drop down the telephone costs or something.
But could you guys make a determination on your end just to reduce your level of funding or rate of?
We can't if they would accept that contract. We don't know it's a contract that will
Oh, I
on a 3-year basis.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
Dave, can I answer that?
Yeah,
So,
of course.
We have spent the last 3 years, our board is fantastic. We have some very smart people that are a lot smarter than me when it comes to finances. And we've figured out as an organization what we need percent wise, whether it be mutual aid calls, our own district 911 calls, interfacility transports to level out, to pay our bills. If we increased our interfacilities that we do, we could ask the town for less. That has been our goal all along, is to not ask for more money. Over the last, I want to say 5 years, I don't believe we've I think, asked for more than $2,000 or $3,000. I believe over the last 2 to 3 years, we've actually asked for $2,000 to $3,000 less each year. But that is our end goal.
Yeah.
Our end goal is to ask our town for less money. We are trying to secure a 3 to 5 year contract with our town and village. And that's just because any organization wants to look for longevity, you know, and have a little bit of safety and to make sure that we're gonna be here in 3 to 5 years. Unfortunately, as Glenn knows, EMS is not considered an essential service in the state of New York, which makes things a little bit more difficult for us. But our end goal is to ask our town for less money.
Thank you.
Some of the money that wasn't asked for in the budget was because some of the states that they needed to cover, we used ARPA monies to cover. So it didn't have to be spread back onto the taxpayers. So, you know, well, it's. Well, we say it was 146,000, it's actually more than that because we need the monies to offset that, and we didn't tax the taxpayers for it. So.
Sorry, I do apologize, Sam, that's actually incorrect. We received 144,000 last year. 36 of it went for a cardiac monitor that came from the ARPA money. We actually received 108,000 from our town last year, and then if you include the ARPA money, which was 136 and change around.
I think we gave you the same thing we gave you last year, Tom, 146.
We have the records.
Like I said, we could be off $2,000 or $3,000. I don't remember the exact price of the cardiac monitor. We received $108,000 from our town last year for this year, which is gonna struggle, but we also didn't have to buy a cardiac monitor, but it was technically the same exact money we received last year in this, you know what I'm saying, for the last 3 years.
Dan, is a motion to have a support letter just come out of this committee, or does it go forward for board approval?
I think you would presumably want the chairman to sign it. I would do a resolution for board to authorize the chairman to sign.
Does anybody want me? Scott?
Move it.
There's a second? Nate seconds it.
And a question, so in the last 5 years, have you added salary numbers of individuals, and how much salary have you added?
So,
And that's Washington County salaries, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
so it's yes and no, so it's tough. We're battling against Queensbury EMS, West Glens Falls EMS, who receive significant funding from their town. They pay their paramedics starting rate, I believe, at like $31 or $32 an hour. Give or take $1. We're competing with that. We'll have a medic that will leave our organization to go work there because they can make $3 or $4 more an hour. I believe when you first started 5 years ago, you were making $14 an hour.
No, it was 1270.
Okay. In 5 years from 1275 as an EMTs now are making $20 an hour. And that is, I believe, the second highest in the county. But it's pretty par. I believe Fort Edward's paying their EMTs the same exact rate. Eastern Greenwich, Cambridge, everyone's paying EMTs the same rate. We're actually underpaying our paramedics, unfortunately. I wish I had an additional, I did ask my board for another $1.50 an hour for them this year. I haven't got an answer yet. Our paramedics start at $25 an hour, where Fort Edward's paramedics start at $27 an hour. So it is a struggle. We are having a harder time getting newer paramedics into our organization. That's why I asked for the extra $1.50 this year to try to do it.
But your staffing number has grown or stayed the same?
It has grown.
How many staff members have you?
So we use
Specified.
we have a staffing agencies that technically they work for them, staffed to the Fort Ann Rescue Squad. We have a total of 39 people within the organization. That's mixed between paid and volunteers. Some of them are paid, some volunteers. Some of them are both. When I took over, we had, I think it was either 7 or 8 people when I took over. And that was in 2006, so now we're at 30.
Well, I was just trying to get to how many paid staff members?
Just
And how many dollars have you added on paid? My daughter with the MA.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm saying something, but I would have to say just paid staff. I believe. Oh, she left with my paper.
Left it hanging.
Well,
No.
We've been I think, I want to say we've been adding 3 to 4 new employees per year for the last 3 to 5 years. And
An
then
average of $25 plus healthcare.
the full timers are authorized, health insurance, for the employees. So we do offer it to them, but it's not cheap enough to pay for it.
I just have one final question to try to clarify was, Tom, I can't remember the top of my head, but your total payroll is how much roughly?
If you could give me 2 minutes, I can look it up there.
Maybe well over 5 years ago, if you have both numbers.
I mean, I had 5 years ago, but I have 2 or 3 years ago. I didn't get a chance, due to the weather, I didn't get a chance to get into the office to grab my iPad, and the third person was supposed to be here. I really didn't want to put him on the road to bring me my iPad. And fortunately, I had to get my newborn to daycare, sorry. So it was a challenging drive this morning.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear that it does go before the full board, so that Sam, you can express your concerns to the rest of the supervisors that aren't here.
So I believe payroll for this year is, it's a large number, 955,000. Where 2-3 years ago was 500. But we also added 2 or 3 additional, we added the 2 transport crews that do transports, and we added the additional crew, and then we dedicate that 1 crew just for this.
And do you source your vehicles in Washington County?
Do I buy them here? I wish I could. Ambulances are very, very tough to buy. Because one's brand new ambulance is pushing 400,000. And we have to replace one ambulance every 5 to 7 years. We just bought a new to us ambulance that we had to buy it out of Wisconsin. For a pretty good deal and having, well, no, we had an ambulance that we had to replace, and that was a loaner. That came in, and the membership actually really liked it, and it was great in the snow. And I was like, "Are you guys sure you want this?" I'm like, "It's green," and they said yes. So the membership voted to buy it. It will be white eventually, and we can save up enough money to wrap, but stay green till then.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to send to the full board, letter of recommendation for the Fort Anne EMS. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And my final thing is a training and travel request for the deputy director. He's been selected to participate in a cyber incident response and management course that is held by, down at Texas A&M. It is January 26th to the 30th, and it is paid for from Department of Homeland Security and FEMA. So they pay for all of his travel, his meals, and so on, his boarding. Go Aggies. I know, right?
So it's paid for.
Yes.
It's paid for.
Yeah, I'll let you get. I'm sorry.
How many tickets is he getting?
Season's over by then. I mean.
Second. But just curious for explanation, cyber security, I mean, what kind of the hospital being shut down or something else like that?
Let's see, increase.
Just curious.
Yeah, so it's critical for technology personnel, risk managers and emergency managers to understand how to work together to respond to cyber threats. Response and management. There'll be cyber incident life.
Like
practicals, if you will. So it's just how to help out, because when I started 26 years ago, we had one computer that wasn't even connected to the internet. Now they have 7 screens that they have to pay attention to, and the phones are computers, the radios are computers, 911 is computers. So, you know, we're by knowing it's to have somebody in-house that understands how to manage those and deal with those is critical. And it's the pool of recipients is from all across the country, limited to
chatty this. Usually we require a resolution out of state. I don't know if that's the case being it's grant paid, but can we have a resolution?
I've got it written.
We already got it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right.
Thank you. Him come back with an accent.
Shut down, restart. The expert.
Cowboy man.
With a Texas A&M shirt.
Control of the.
The other end.
If he needs a hat to borrow, I got one.
Okay.
Thank you. Got two. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Wait, there's more. We had more.
Is this your new fee structure? Yep.
It covers 680,000.
Not quite. Question, what's this compared to? Right, it's within the range of our surrounding areas. I do have that specifics on here if you have a specific one you want. Okay. The info on, so. All right, so current pricing in the middle column there. Those are what we charge now, obviously. And then the recommended in the next column's over. You take a look at under 1 and 2 family buildings, new, and then all others, you see it's broken down by the square footage and then by a minimum. If it was a flat fee, I just wrote it across both of those columns, so. You guys want to go through like one or how you'd like to do it?
What committee you want to do?
Yeah.
John, can you just give a little information on how you came up with the recommended
Sure.
fees?
Yep. I have a folder over there with a whole bunch of the fee schedules from surrounding towns and villages and Livingston County, which is comparable to ours economically. So I looked at those, got the ranges that they were in, just to make sure we weren't, real high on anything. And then I also took the last time that it was changed. So for instance, you look at the single and double wide on the top there. $100 flat. The last time we changed that was 2014. So I went back and looked at the inflation rate. What's $100 back then worth? What's $100 now? We'd have to charge $137.20 just to be equal to what it was worth back then. So in that particular case, I went up to the 150, which again is still within the range of our surrounding areas. How's that solar offsite use compare number? How does that compare with the? For that, when I did this before, with some of the other fees, it was apples to apples. With some of these, they have so many different ways of figuring some of these things that I didn't lay out that way. So I can give you some examples, but there's no real easy way to compare apples to apples on it. So for the solar, we had one place that does 20 cents a square foot. We had another place that does $150 for the first $1,000 worth of price. $20 for each $1,000 after that. I took an example of one that we had done before we knew that we weren't supposed to, as it is now. That would have been like $80,000. So maybe we can, I'll share if we wanted to go that route, but. I mean, what's the advantage to these complex fees that you're giving examples to? I mean, anybody know? Can't think of one. What's an advantage to having a complex fee structure such as some of the examples that John's articulating and comparing with our flat rate of 3,000 per megawatt? There are others that do have flat rates on certain part of it. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the logic in my mind with how convoluted can you be there?
You can be very convoluted. A
lot of times.
Ours is convoluted, right, John?
Actually, I didn't get I didn't get the example. You guys.
I thought ours was kind of convoluted. It's driven by two councilmen who, that's what they wanted.
They needed it.
They wanted it that way.
Hmm.
So it could be simpler, but.
Well, this is pretty simple.
Yeah.
3,000 per megawatt. Does that give us an advantage in the end? I don't know.
You want to answer his first question?
An advantage. That it's easier to figure out, you mean?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, you're not paying an accountant to figure that one out.
I mean, we'd be able to figure out, you know, what it is, whatever way you wanna go, but it just seems like it's more steps.
I'm not advocating for.
No, I'm just saying
complex.
that's, I don't know. that
What do you
it's
think,
a
Al?
Benefit.
I have great fondness for accountant supervisor.
I'm sure you do.
John?
Yes.
I believe, and I'm probably wrong in the way I'm communicating what he told me, but I thought Todd told me, one of the challenges is that we don't typically do solar array or commercial solar array inspections, correct?
Correct.
It's not under our purview or the code enforcement.
Yep.
State guidelines.
Yeah,
How can, I guess that's a question he was wondering, how do we charge if we don't have that authority?
when it was originally brought up, I think it might have been the last meeting. Some towns do it. And I believe they have local laws that they had to pass in order to do that. So with state codes, you can make a more restrictive requirement. You can't make an easier requirement. So this would be a more restrictive requirement. So we'd be saying, yes, generally speaking, we don't do this, but the county wants to do it. So here's a local law saying that we're now doing it.
So the follow-up question is, he's told me that they don't have training to inspect these arrays. So how do you do so if there's no state guidance on how to inspect these arrays? You can't then charge a fee.
What we were doing before, we got notification from the state, that it didn't fall under the. What we were doing before is basically. When we went out to do a final inspection, we don't do electrical inspections for any projects. So that would all be verified by a third-party electrical inspector. But what we were doing was verifying they put in what they said they were going to, the way they said they were going to do it. So we'd get, the total number of panels.
Structure for 1 month.
Yeah, what they have for the rack system. They had said that they were gonna have 15 inverters. They did that. We checked to see all of that kind of stuff is in place. But basically just us saying, yes, they installed what they said.
Okay, thank you.
So if we go forward with this, do we then have to have a local
Yeah.
law?
Well, on my understanding.
Do a resolution.
So maybe my math is wrong here, so if we had under solar, if we have an offsite use solar farm. We have one now that's proposing to Fort Ann for 100 megawatts, so it'll be $300,000.
100 megawatts?
That's a big.
That's absolutely.
Huge acres.
Well, they won't be doing it anyway.
It's huge.
Is that the whole project?
Yeah, the whole project.
I think we're getting
25 of it, or 20,
Yeah.
20 something.
Yeah, that's
You
pretty
won't
much-
get in it because the state will be doing that one.
That's pretty much the whole other side of Fort Ann.
They did about, anything above 25 megawatts is gonna be forest. Like they.
Right, but they
But you still have to.
They have to file here.
Yeah,
Right.
And
Not necessarily.
not necessarily. I know Horace is.
Yeah.
Who's your local representative on yours? Because there's supposed to be somebody from the local.
Yeah, I
sitting
don't
on
remember
that.
his name, but we met him a month and a half ago. He stopped in.
Okay, because
Two of them came actually.
there is supposed to be people on the deciding board on that from local and. You never hear anybody local that
Well, yeah, we don't get to pick them.
Yeah.
Right.
John, I have a question. This 3,000 per megawatt. On a given with Al's accounting and this $3,000, is this 3,000 fairly close to what it would be if Al was designing a payment structure? I mean, I don't want that 3,000 too low per megawatt, if one of the more complicated, like Al would present, would generate more revenue.
I have much less complicated supervisor.
I do like the simplicity of this, but it's 3,000 undercutting the number too.
You had some.
We have other ones that is 1,000 per megawatt, we have another one that's 2,000, we have one that are 3,000, we have ones based on square footage of the actual. Solar arrays, we have one that's square footage of the actual property. This, I think, would be the simplest way to do it and would bring in additional funding. And we could always revisit it if we think, hey, it's just taking more time than what this is really providing, or.
No, I think it's good. I just didn't want the number to be too low where it's a deal for them.
Yeah.
So. We have two things I think we have to do, right? We can approve his rate sheet if everybody's in agreement with it. And then we'd have to do a resolution.
If you approve the rate sheet, I'll do the resolution and make it board for the full board. Yeah, a couple of.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any more discussion? All in favor of the rate sheet? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
So we're gonna be pursuing one solar arrays. Bigger one.
Okay, whatever you have yours.
All right, and with us and lunch. Told everybody we would keep discussion going on code enforcement and Dana's concerns that they're carrying a big chunk of the load on cost and.
Here.
Huh?
You need me or can I sit back over there?
It's easier for him to throw the darts out.
Right. Well, maybe I want him sitting over there. I don't want Dart coming.
You were gonna send it to Curly, huh?
So I did ask Al, he ran a sheet, and I think Dana may have already seen this one, but ran a sheet on the cost per town. With 580,000 code, correct?
That'll be good enough for everybody.
Sure, and
But we get the committee first.
Oh, we can share over here.
Yeah. It's probably some more copies they can.
I just did some real quick figuring and if I have the three towns right, Easton, Fort Edward and Kingsbury, are they the three that do that?
Yep.
Okay. Their total share is about 149,000, which is about 26% of the total budget of code. So if we were somehow to figure out to allow them to opt out, if that's one of the options we're looking at, the rest of the towns are gonna be picking that up, which just on a rough 14 pounds would be 10,000 to a town or. So, but it's gonna be different because of your weighted programs, but. That's the information I tried to gather for the discussion, and we don't have to make a decision today, but I'm trying to keep this going because it's been brought up so many times, so.
Well, I guess the question is, when you say the town's opting out. What is it that's looking to be accomplished? Because as at its baseline, the towns do their own enforcement unless they opt out.
Okay.
If they opt out, it then goes to the county. If the county were to pass a local law opting out of code enforcement, then it would go to the state. So it's kind of a three-pronged process. It always starts, the town has the ability to do the rest.
So. There's not a tax collection option. To
No,
allow
it's
these.
because you can't tax a portion of the county. It's considered a general expense. I think it was in the memo that I sent around. Since it's a general expense, you have to unfortunately spread out of the entire county. That doesn't say that if the towns want to quote opt in, But say do intermunicipal agreement, so let's say Kingsbury and Hartford enter into an agreement to share. You know, they say, we're gonna do our enforcement, but we're gonna do an intermunicipal agreement so that we share code enforcement officer, you can do that. But you can't, you know, for lack of a better term, exclude 3 towns currently using code enforcement. That can't get done.
So that would, the memo you sent out probably a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah. It basically said that even if we wanted to do this, it's illegal for us to cut them out and pay their portion. Is that what I took from that or no?
I mean, you have to tax everybody equally. I don't know that you can say, we're gonna exclude. I guess I would say, I don't know if you can do something that says we're still gonna tax everybody, but somehow you're gonna reimburse Kingsbury, Fort Edward and Easton. I can't say off the top of my head if you can do that. I probably have to get a comptroller's opinion.
Like, I got a follow-up question, like, could it be done like as a contract with the county? So like if you're paying $90,000 for it now, take that out of the whole equation for everybody. And the towns would basically contract with the county and pay the county to do it.
Or Dan, it has to overcomplicate. We have 2 options according to your memo. Either we get rid of it, throw it to the state, each town probably is gonna have to hire or share.
Well,
code guys
as
together.
what it starts off first and foremost, code enforcement is initially a local town obligation. Which you have the right to, opt in and opt out. There were years that we did Kingsbury's for a couple of years. I think we did Putnam's up until I think 2018. I think the last one that
2017.
2017, you're off. And I think the last one that eventually we did it for and adopted out was Cambridge. That was 2020.
So I'm gonna hate myself for bringing this up, but could code be set up like our septic program, and then there'd be charge to the
Districts?
charge to the users to use it?
My initial answer is I don't know. B, I don't think it would be a good idea.
I want to expand on what John said, because there might be a glimmer of hope in that question. So if you think about the way that we did assessing, 5 of the towns chose to use the county's assessor, and they paid a fee that covered the cost of that assessor, is fringe, is mileage, right? We determined what the cost of that assessor was going to be, and the 5 towns that chose to use that assessor were charged a fee for that service. Could we structure the code enforcement in such a manner that it wasn't funded by the levy? It was funded by, the deficit was funded by the users of that. So we would know, we need to know at budget time every year. Okay, 14 towns are going to use this service. In 2026, it's a $580,000 shortfall. We're gonna then allocate that 580,000 over the 14 users and do that through a fee for service contract like we did with the assessing. That might be an avenue
That
to
might be a way to
explore.
do it.
Kind of like we did with the assessing. That's kind of what is floating through my brain.
The assessing thing not work out.
That was a personality thing, not a contract thing.
And I think the.
Just saying.
And I do think the initial charge out there, Scott, was probably too low, so the ones that jumped on it said, yeah, all right, this works. And then our director came back and says, well, we're losing money on it. That's the fee you gave us to use,
I got some inside baseball that might help you understand that better, but.
But on the assessment, when the assessor's looking at it, at least the one that we're working with, shared by 4 or 5 towns, you look at the numbers. Work for the county, we never pay the numbers that you do right now. He's making, with rough calculations, between $100,000 to $200,000. I don't know what you're paying him, but I know what I'm paying him. Extending that out, some of the towns, he's working, probably making $150,000 a year. He'd never make that in the county. And because he structured his employee at the towns, he's also getting his retirement. Not getting healthcare. He's got-
Geez.
So what's the point?
My point is that's why the assessment of the work, we make more money doing it himself. That's the other reason.
I'm trying to see why this was going. Code enforcement area, well, lost me for a
They,
minute.
they brought up the assessment file. There's multiple reasons why they didn't work.
I just wanted to bring up the historical aspect, if they know history or don't repeat it. Used to be all the towns did their code enforcement. Some decided not to do code enforcement at all. There was huge and incredible contention amongst people building things back when this was going on. Because of the incredible differences between towns. One town would just have, I don't know, our guy, just a big file of pictures, we send in pictures, if you looked at them, half the pictures, contracts were the same goddamn picture. 95 different, there's stuff like that, then other guys insisted on being there. This kind of became a way of becoming uniform. Across the county and not having things like, well. The supervisor here said, well, when they have these receptions come up, I just approve them. You know, as opposed to me, who probably wouldn't approve. It's, the more we fracture this, the more inconsistencies and problems like this we're gonna have, and I'm not sure it's fair to the overall cadre of taxpayers and users.
Dana, can I ask why you guys still maintain your own,
Why we maintain our own?
code enforcement?
Yes, you may ask, our town board we were getting a lot of complaints. And our town board wanted to pull it back because they were getting tired of hearing the complaints about the time frame that was taken to do inspections, the work requirements of some of the inspections. Even I will tell you, one of the town councilmen who had originally said, let's send this to the county, along with the prior supervisor. He called me one night and said, we gotta take it back. It's getting worse. And time frame is those kind of things. And I do think it was a result of staffing. I think at the time John didn't have a lot of, I think we've added staff, correct? Since that time.
I don't remember when that.
But we took our workload out of it, so obviously we free things up. And the big one was for
We
me.
actually have more than we had when you were.
You definitely didn't have enough people to do fire inspections, it's fair to say that. And so fire inspections weren't being done. And we had to sign off every year to that annual report to the state saying we were conducting the fire inspections.
We handled that, you guys.
Right, but if you weren't doing them, it ultimately came back to us, correct? Yeah, it is. That's what we were told by our town attorney, that the liability for not conducting those fire inspections could ultimately come back on us, because again, it's the same thing. I get confused with the opt-in and opt-out, that you can essentially hand it over to the county, but that doesn't alleviate you of the liability for not getting the work done. That was the impression I was getting, is there were a significant number of fire inspections were not being done. And we have a lot of departments. And what is it, 3 units or more?
Yes.
3 units or more. I mean, Rich Skimmelhorn has, I think, 500.
Yeah, since you guys took it back, you've gotten huge numbers.
Huge numbers, and it's gone up, and honestly, they're being done. We had to hire another part-time code enforcement officer to make sure they got done. But that's what they wanted.
Thanks.
Do the towns that opt out, does their revenue from this pay for the department?
Does it pay for our department? Yes.
Do you have an excess? No?
Well, it fluctuates. It's not static. I would say it's dynamic. Like we had one year where we had Rich Skimmelhorn put up two structures, and that was a significant sum of money. If you just take those, and I guess spread it out over 2 to 3 years, yes, we're still.
So that's part of your decision making that you.
It actually wasn't, that wasn't part of it, because I think when we took it back, we didn't know anything about those projects still, so.
Are your fees higher than the county's fees?
I think they are right now, right?
A couple of them are higher.
Yeah.
Both of them are this pretty similar. So for
For our town, I don't think it would benefit us. I can see where it benefits you.
No, but that's where we were talking, like at Sam Hall and I, like Fort Ann. Like right now, we have to replace our code enforcement officer. He's now our town justice, or will be on January 1st, so we have to replace him. And it's fine. I talked to somebody in another community who would indicated they would come over if it was a full-time job. And we may have to make that one full-time and switch. Ross Cortez is our part-time, and he knows all about this. I've told him, and he's actually made comments about things he would be willing to do to accommodate that need, if it happens. But we're trying to hire another part-time code officer. My preference would be to hire somebody out of the firehouse, because they're primarily doing the fire inspections for us. That's what they're going to be doing. But it remains to be seen if we'll find somebody who wants that role.
I think the problem with small towns is that we have to share with multiple towns. In essence, have some sort of district type operation to do it. I still don't think we could have the capability to do this stuff, to do the inspections we need done. And so multiple towns, you only have one or two people, they're always gonna be the wrong place at the wrong time. So we're gonna go back to time management. I mean, I know why you did it. And I agree with a lot of reasons why you did it back then. But I think it's gonna be too tough for small towns to get together and do it. Revenue source is not gonna be there, cover the expense. You can begin to cover the expense.
Yeah, just so everybody, I mean, I don't think I drove this. Just you guys all know.
We know.
I think Dan drove this,
Yeah.
and listen, I don't like Kingsbury taxpayers paying an extra 80,000, but we knew what we would be doing when we took it back. We knew that, and so my understanding too now, John, is you guys provide us with the overnight coverage in the event there's an issue. You guys.
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot. I mean, is it worth 80? No, probably not. But the same time as I understood when Dan's memo came out, I didn't think we could pull us off of this. I think we had asked that question, and I think Jeff Meyer had investigated it up and came back with that answer. Similar to what Dan said, you're gonna have to either accept it or not accept it. Either send all your work back to the county, which, again, there's no flavor to do that in the town of Kingsbury.
Goes the bottom line here. If any of you guys want to opt out, go ahead and opt out. But other than that, we're gonna keep on doing code enforcement. Is that kind of where we come to?
I think so.
So we can put it to bed.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get to that point.
You know,
I would encourage everybody that we try to get these expenses under control, because that's a big number. Even on the years where we're not profitable, if you will, it's not to the same percentage magnitude as what we're seeing right now in the county. So that needs to get under control.
Well, the costs have really gone up, because if you look the budget lines, there's not a lot of, well, there's not any flow in there. It's personnel that I'll take the responsibility for it, that I've requested, because we didn't have what we needed to do it. To do as well as we are doing. So that's the big chunk of why things have gone up since 2018 or whatever was brought up previous.
I don't know what the history is with code enforcement. Was it set up to be a revenue generating department? Because,
I don't think it's ever been a revenue generating.
so the expenses that keep coming up, right, that they're upside down is because of the personnel costs, I'm assuming, and the benefits. But we have a lot of departments that provide services that don't bring in revenue. I guess I'm just trying to clarify, is code enforcement one of those departments that's supposed to be paying for itself? Or is it
No, but.
like
Yes.
many of the other
It's if we
services?
change.
I answer yes on that. Provides revenue, so yes, you can have your expenses covered by your revenue. I think the
So
same way,
that's the
I think
goal.
the same thing about courts, but I'm always told to keep my mouth shut when I talk about courts, especially at the town level, because I'm not supposed to say that courts should be paying for themselves, because I don't understand why who said it a month or so ago? The needs of the few don't outweigh the need of the many. Right, well, courts are the same way. I mean, so it's always seems like it's the same people, time and time again. We've seen it in iOS for public defense.
It's the drum of our public defense. That
Yeah.
comment, the drum of our public defense.
Yeah, I think when you do have revenue coming in, It's the same thing, like I've talked about it with dog control. We try to make dog control pay for itself. So if we have to raise fees, people will complain, okay, don't own a dog then. If you don't like the fee, don't own a dog, you can get rid of that expense. You're the one incurring this cost to us because the state says that we have to provide dog control. And it's the same with code enforcement. That's kind of my philosophy on it.
And I think code has come a long ways in the last 5-6 years here, so generating some more fees and some more, getting some more efficiencies and stuff, maybe we can close the gap down.
Can I ask, like, just, let's take an example of a single home.
Yes.
Your permit fee would be what, 200?
Me,
Mod, all of it would be 250.
so a new, if it wasn't a, single wire, double wire, or modular, then it would be 20 cents a square foot with a minimum of 150.
250. Right?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Okay.
I'm wrong.
So if I'm looking at that, so John, let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
1,000 square foot house, right?
Yeah.
What are we looking at? 300. How many times does your code enforcement officer have to go to that house to do those inspections?
Probably like 10 times,
How many?
probably about 10 times.
10 times. Hour clip?
Could be.
That number should be
Not
double.
covered.
Straight out.
Double that number.
But we're not covered.
Yeah, we're not covering it. Double it.
Right, but again, like if everybody was doing that same kind of rate, we'd be good, but that's one of the things that I was looking at in here, is how do we compare with other funds?
Yeah, but they're still building in Washington County. You know, they're not in Livingston County or another county. You know, people are building here for a reason, but it's not on the taxpayer base to cover that cost. It's the homeowner. Now, I'd be part of that plan to build that house. Is these costs.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say, 1,000 square foot house is gonna be 250,000, we're not hitting percent for, and where I disagree with Mark and him the other day, it's not a tax, this is a user.
Yeah, big difference.
Big difference. Yeah.
Well,
So now we've approved these, should we be stepping back and say, these guys.
Well, you can change it with the time.
Change it
We
anytime.
don't have to wait to change it.
But another example is fire inspections. State says you have to charge fire, you have to do fire inspection, correct? Stop me if I mistake. Okay, so anything above 3 units or places of assembly, schools, right?
Any kind of businesses,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
So you're telling somebody, okay, you gotta go do a fire inspection and we're charging what, $75?
If they,
And you know who chirped the loudest when we initiated those fees in Kingsbury? You can guess, right?
oh yeah,
Okay, you can guess the developer whose organization chirped the loudest. I asked the question, why should, I use my example of my mother and my aunt, both in their 80s. I said, why should they be paying any on their tax rate to have your commercial inspections done? It shouldn't be done that way. But yeah, we sit there and we go, well, these are added fees or added costs. I don't care. If you can't manage to do the fire inspections that the state says that we have to do,
right.
then don't build here. Go somewhere else. We don't want you. If that's what you want us to put that cost on the local taxpayer and the fixed income taxpayer,
That's only every 3 years too, isn't it?
it's every 3 years. That's
So
right.
it's 75, so it amounts to $25 a year.
One of the responses to me was, do you have any idea how much this is gonna cost us? I said, no, but I got a pretty good idea how much revenue you take in per year based on the average rent. So yeah, we can all do this. This is why I don't understand this logic where we say, oh, it's just too expensive. No, it isn't. Can't afford it, you can't afford
Hard to
it.
do.
Pay the fee. And I think the expenses, or I should say the revenue, should be aligned with the expenditures. Many times you can do that, you're better off government. All right, rant's over. I'm done. You gotta cut me off, Jay. I like it going on this stuff.
But you could do some math on some of these examples. If you look at the example, or if you look at what we have for revenue versus our expenditures, just in the approved thing there, we would have to raise, if we just did it across the board. Picking at each one. You'd have to pretty much triple. No, they would about 3.5 times. This is gonna go up, this is gonna bring in more than what's on a budget. Yeah, with me, yeah. So, it might knock it down a little bit, but you'd almost have to
So you're,
triple or 3.5 times everything.
so
to break
let's say 1,000 square foot new stick built house.
Yeah.
You're looking at $1,000 in inspections. between septic, the whole 9 yards.
In currently, or what we would need to charge?
With your 3 times, you know, where a good entry door is $1,000 itself, and they expect to pay $1,000 for the 3 door. Why should they be expected to pay $1,000 for bidding for a new house?
And that's something completely up to you folks, if you want it to go higher than this, I'm just. There's gonna be blowback if we're charging 3 times what Warren County charges or whatever, then you're gonna hear people say, well, then we'll just build in Warren.
Okay.
Great, you got 52 million in sales tax to work with over there. Good going with it. Go get it. We don't have that.
I'm just saying this, I'm not disagreeing, I'm just trying to put out what's there. It's kind of like
If
you
we
don't
would
pay for a
double
fishing
on,
license unless you fish.
well, for
I understand.
30 cents a square foot to 60 cents a square foot for 1,000 square foot house, they'd be paying more in land over there than that $250 extra.
And I understand that, I'm just. That's one of the reasons why I went through to see what else, what other towns and stuff charge. I'm just giving you folks the information, you tell me what you want to do.
I think we've already passed this, but I think Dane brought up a good point that you really ought to, if you can, find time to look at what the cost is to do some of these different inspections, number of times person does it, you know, and their cost. I mean, and you come back to us and say, hey, look, we're not even halfway there covering, maybe we ought to be stepping it up again, you know, it's. You know, we're charging the rest of the residents in the county for something that somebody is choosing to do.
And even if there's still a shortfall supervisor, I think that's a great exercise. You know, how many man hours goes into a fire inspection, how many man hours go
Our
into
net
a
cost,
new
right?
construction?
Right.
Our net cost.
And that would be an interesting exercise.
And this isn't apples to apples, you know, but. To some extent, as low as it might be. There are benefits to the people that are around that aren't directly building the house. But they're not necessarily large ones, but you know, if you're firefighters, public going into the non-commercial buildings, things like that, it keeps, it's intended to keep everybody safe, but I do grant that that's a small percentage.
One more. The amount of time that it takes you guys to go out and when someone builds a cellar wall and puts some footings down. The footings have to be inspected, the walls have to be inspected, then insulation has to be inspected. Then they start building. I mean, you're out there all the time. I mean, I don't think $1,000 is unreasonable. Any contractor expects to pay for all the attention that you're required to be there.
Contractors don't pay it, homeowners.
Well, it's all
As-
part of the building.
As the
cost.
contractors, they wanna make that many trips for that
Yeah,
amount of money. Is
Yeah,
there
I'm just
any other?
looking here to see what other towns had for this specific example of construction.
Yeah, well, I'm just asking that you maybe just have 2025 data. Based on, and just pick your permit number. How many times did somebody go out to, you know, on this project? There might have been 3 permits associated with this project. And, you know, don't be, you don't have to be
Yeah,
perfect,
fine.
right?
Yep.
Just, it was this number of hours, and so take that cost per hour. Calculate what it cost you as a department, dollar wise, and bring it back and let everybody chew on it. Say, okay, this is what a single family home we'd have to pay for to cover our costs of going out and doing all these inspections.
I wouldn't be worried about what other towns or counties or any.
Yeah.
Let's be trendsetters, Chad. And here's another thing, this will give your loudest opposition, I'll call them, something else to complain about. Oh, yes. I just sent them to whoever the supervisor is in that area. Yeah.
They wanted me to do this.
Revenue neutral, is an ambitious goal, but we are looking at it as also partially a service, so we could look at what a model would be at 50%, 75%, 80% of expense. So you can actually get a spectrum, because you'll have busy times when you be revenue positive, just like Dana is. And a lot of times nobody's building, cost of lumber's gone up, So we should govern more as a target, maybe it's not 100%, maybe it's 80, 75.
Well, and other things too, just not all on the revenue side, and I'm sure that your guys are doing this, but you'd hope if there's two buildings going up in the same town or the same area, you're making one trip out and trying to hit, you know.
Absolutely. And we're even doing that with the fire inspections too. I went through and that, you know, we're covering this area this month. And so, you know, they're doing all of Cambridge's in this month.
There any,
All right, one more thing. I know code enforcement spending a lot of time looking at, but now we've got property maintenance. Because the amount of blighted buildings we have in Washington County. And there is no revenue coming from that, but it certainly is creating rural county. To be safe and some areas, giving a little bit of, we don't have anything regarding that law, but I think we should think for.
Dan, if we were to find people in those situations, would we get all of that money? Would some of that have to go through the court?
you wouldn't get anything. Yeah, you wouldn't get any.
You get abandoned properties.
Court will probably take a good chunk of it.
And
The reason they're blighted, they don't have any.
and then you gotta define, it's pretty hard to define, well, that's just the way they live, and maybe it's a real messy place versus is it unsafe, or is it, you know, a fire hazard, so that's a tough line to.
Yeah, property maintenance is one of the most frustrating things.
So, and thanks to you guys, last board meeting, the ones that we actually take for back taxes that are blighted, we now have something to do with those too, so. Your land bank is gonna give you some opportunities that you haven't had before as well, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I look forward to that.
Hey, is there any other? Thank you all.
Thank
No one's busy.